Welcome, everybody, to episode number 2 of the Talk Footy to Me podcast. I am, of course, OfficialH2, and that is my lovely friend, Mykal87. Please say hello and introduce yourself. Yeah, that way.
That way. Yeah. What's up, everybody? It's good to see everybody again. First off, I want to start off H2. Amazing response from the community on the first episode. I was blown away. I know you were as well.
Absolutely.
We had in the first 24 hours, we had over 50 views. That's more than I could have ever asked for. I was just hoping for 10. I was like, my mom, my dad, my sister, H2, his girlfriend. I was just hoping for 10, but we ended up getting 50. So
exactly. No, you guys.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts, man. We didn't expect to get even, like we thought a couple of people would show up to the Twitch stream. First of all, the streams were obviously insane. We had so much. I have a bro. I'm such a professional streamer. The streams had a lot of traffic, and then after that, on the YouTube channel, you guys were absolutely phenomenal with the support that you've shown us. I have put a command in our chat, as has Mykal, for the podcast. If you aren't already subscribed to the YouTube channel, please consider subscribing so you can catch up on these after the fact. But for those of you here on YouTube, both of us do stream over on Twitch. Link is in the description below if you want to check us out there. But now that formalities are out of the way, I think we're ready to get episode number 2 underway. So thank you everyone that is tuned in right now live on Twitch, and anyone watching on YouTube. We appreciate you just as much. All right.
Absolutely.
We got a full slate of stuff to talk about, guys. And surprise, surprise, it's a common starting topic. Like, we talked about this last week for quite a chunk of the podcast. And I mean, there's no denying that this is the story of the summer. And guess what it is? It's Barcelona. Last week we said, are they done yet? Are they done? They brought in Lewandowski, they brought in Rafinha, and then boom, just today, July 28th, they officially announced Jules Koundé. Mykal and I were talking a bit off stream about this whole debacle. I will talk about how I feel as a Chelsea fan afterwards, but I'm going to let Mykal touch on some of the registration issues these guys might be running into, because he's been keeping up with that stuff.
Yeah, there was a leak out of the Barcelona camp recently that I believe it was 4 players, if I remember right. I'll have to look it up. I feel unprepared now. But it was Lewandowski, Koundé, who they just signed, which is incredible, Rafinha, and Kessié. Is probably how it's pronounced with the French pronunciation. But Kessié, all are at the risk of not being registered for the La Liga season. The interesting thing is, if that is true, that also means that they would not be able to register them for the Champions League as well. Which, it's all hinging. Apparently, they based all of this move off of De Jong agreeing to take already another reduced contract. I think it was by 60%. I think that was the number I was seeing around. And then he also had to continue to defer his wages of, I think, over or close to 60 million so far, including bonuses and other structures that he has, which to me is how much faith is he putting into Barcelona that he will eventually get this money, having them watch them sign Lewandowski for 40 million. Koundé was another 45 million. You'll know the specifics on that one.
Oh, I know the specifics. Yeah, it's a significant. It's close to 50 million euros, I think.
Yeah, and so if he's deferred already close to 60 million in terms of contract, bonuses, everything, and they want him to take a reducement of up to 60% of his current wages as well, just so they could register these players. For me, it's starting to seem like an all or nothing season. Like, they have to win everything, otherwise they're not going to have the money to do anything.
So I think what's happening is they're in like fantasy land with all the transfers they've done, but they're not really thinking ahead. Like, we're a few weeks away from the start of the season, and are these players even going to be able to play? That's the biggest thing. I know, Mykal, you and I talked about off stream about is the FA, is La Liga going to do anything? Is anyone going to do anything? I thought it was interesting that the La Liga president, Tebas, he came out with a quote yesterday, and I have it up on screen, so I'll read it word for word. Basically talking about how Barcelona's trying to strong arm De Jong into, forfeiting some of the money, like you said. His word for word quotes Tebas, the president of La Liga, says the players cannot be split from the team or pressured. That is what the collective agreement is about. That is what the law, reason, and ethics say. From there, Barcelona knows the rules and the responsibilities. So it seems like he's saying, you know what, this is not an ideal situation, but hey, at the end of the day, Barcelona should know that. So it seems like nothing's going to be done.
I feel like he's extending the olive branch of trust to be like, they know what they're doing. And for me, and my cynical side is saying that he is basically covering his own behind.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going, they know the rules. If they break them,
out against it.
Yeah. And then come next year when we rip the rug out from under him, they know the rules.
Yeah.
But there's also could be the thing where he knows more than we do. And it's most likely what is the case. But I saw somebody from your chat said that he's like that guy who owes you money, but you see him at KFC every weekend or something. And it's true. It's like your mate owes you $50, but he's still coming home with a new FIFA. It's like, come on, man.
And yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, at what point? I honestly hope De Jong strong arms him in the way of he says, "I'm not taking a reduced contract. We've signed 2 new contracts already since I've been here. I watched you re-sign Araujo to this outrageous contract. I watched you re-sign Dembele to this outrageous contract. At what point does he start going, I know my value. I know my worth. I'm going to stick to my contract. You guys messed up. I'm playing football. You guys can play Monopoly."
100%. That's exactly what Gavin says here in chat. He says, the thing is, De Jong is well within his rights to flash Barcelona the biggest middle finger possible. They should be banned from transfers. Exactly. Dazzler saying, I've got more money than Barcelona. I've got like $21 and you don't sign me buying Lewandowski in real life. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what they're doing, man. And it's become a meme by now. Like you mentioned this to me. Sky Sports posted, I'll touch on this, obviously, how all of these transfers have affected Chelsea. Being a Chelsea fan, it's been a painful summer. But, Chelsea gets briefly linked with Fofana, which, for the record, I don't think is happening this summer, if at all. But Sky Sports posts a picture of Fofana, and Barcelona liked it. And it just feels like we're living through a meme right now.
And they know it, too.
And they know it. So, kind of touching on that then, how does this apply to teams that they're, so Barcelona's movements in the transfer window have affected, arguably, Chelsea the most. I usually keep my personal kind of my supporting habits out of the podcast. At least I did in the first episode, but it's getting to a point where it's getting a little irritating as a Chelsea fan, and without really talking too much smack, it's just the more frustrating thing is the fans have bought into this, we're untouchable, you can't do anything about it, and they're spending more time kind of rubbing these transfers in Chelsea's face instead of being excited about their own club's future, because I think they deep down know that there might not be much. I mean, I don't think Barcelona will ever disappear, but I mean, nobody is taking seriously how they can't even register these players.
I think it's not even their own fans. I think they're in delusion.
100%.
I think they're so used to being Barcelona that they don't know that reality eventually is going to catch up to them. Like I said earlier when I mentioned it, I think it's an all or nothing season for them. I think if they go home trophyless this season, I think the banks are going to not have anybody paying them money. And because here's how the transfers work for anybody that doesn't have a lot of insight into transfers. It's not if Barcelona buys a player from Chelsea, Barcelona's manager doesn't wire transfer Chelsea 100 million euros. It doesn't go that way. I don't write you a check for 100 million euros and then all of a sudden I have Koundé in my backfield. The banks are the ones who actually exchange the cash. Easy. Yeah. So if I was to go to you and be like, hey, I want to buy Christensen for $40 million. I mean, he went for free, so it's a bad example. No, but anyways, I want to buy player X for 40 million euros, $40 million, whatever. If we come to an agreement, that contract goes off to whichever bank the parties are using, financial institution, bank, levers, and that's why you keep hearing these word levers come around, these levers, because the banks are the one that pay for it. And so the installments actually come out of accounts. And so Barcelona's living basically on a credit card right now.
Continuous.
And eventually they're on that black card, and eventually it's going to start to fade, and then all of a sudden the banks are going to be like, look, Barcelona hasn't paid us for a transfer from, I think one thing I saw was they still owe money for the Coutinho deal.
Yeah.
Which was what, 4 years ago now, however much that was. So I will say credit where credit's due. They are not making these $100 million transfers anymore for Felipe Coutinho. They've spent $100 million on 4 players.
100%.
So that's an improvement. But the question is, at what point do these banks go, you have $2 billion of credit, levers, whatever term you want to use. Your club's only worth, 1.5.
Yeah.
So,
and this number keeps getting brought up. Oh, we've leveraged our future TV rights for 500 million or whatever. Like you said, it's not that simple. That 500 million doesn't go directly to player purchases. There's a club that needs to be run. There's a staff that needs to be paid. Not saying Barcelona doesn't have the money to do those things, but it's not just about, oh, we sold our TV rights. Now we can go out and buy a ton of players.
That's another interesting point. That thought, actually, as soon as you said that thought never even crossed my mind. They have head coaches to worry about, assistant coaches, physios, scouts, the chefs. Yeah, the chefs in the kitchen making breakfast, lunch, and dinner for these players when they come in. Equipment managers, hospitality managers. They have the people working in the arena serving everybody beer and hot dogs. And they also have to pay a contribution to the local police / military to cover the games. So, like, at what point is like an employee strike on the books going, hey, that $40 million you paid for Lewandowski could go back to the, paying my rent. I haven't gotten a pay increase in 20 years since our last Champions League title.
And I think
that's crazy.
This is the biggest thing that's getting missed out of all of this. It's a meme like, Chelsea has no pull. No one goes to Chelsea. Barcelona stealing all of this. But it's like, at what cost? Like there comes a point where it's real lives on the line. Also, you touched on this, Mykal, with that tweet that you sent about Bordeaux in France. They're going through some crazy financial troubles right now. They very well could go under. I'm not sure if they're going to go into administration or not. But Barcelona owes them a huge chunk of money from the Malcolm transfer. Malcolm, of course, who now is no longer at Barcelona, but they still owe these clubs money from previous transfers, and that money could very well end up being able to save a club's existence. Like this is heavy
and that's
stuff.
Just to clarify, that's what we touched base on, or I was touching base on earlier with the transfers. The stigma was that Barcelona does owe Bordeaux the money. It's actually the financial institution paid Bordeaux for that. Barcelona owes the financial institution.
Thanks for clearing that
as a part of that. But it did impact because there's a delay. So if Barcelona's not making the installments can't go through the financial institution to do that. So what Bordeaux had to do was they had to sell the installments because they were trying to stay afloat. And so Bordeaux is, I think, $40 million in debt. So to avoid, what's the word you just used?
Administration,
they agreed to a relegation to the third tier of France. And Bordeaux is not a bad club.
Very historic.
They're a very powerful club in France. So to see them have to go down to the third tier, no, don't get me wrong, they're going to mop up the third tier. Like,
of course.
It's going to be like Juve getting relegated, when
they win the title.
But it's and I know this is going to segue perfect into you talking about Chelsea, but it's affecting clubs long term other than Barcelona right now, because they had to wait for their check, they had to wait for their part of the transfer fund, they end up having to sell it, and now they're sacking players. I mean, to your point, they're probably losing employees, they're probably losing coaches. It's this massive ripple effect, that's just bleeding across the world football now, which is what we were talking about earlier, which is at what point does FIFA get involved?
100%.
Because now you have leagues, not just teams. So it's like Bordeaux will recover, but you have League One that's now going to be losing out on TV rights because it's a completely different league. I mean, it all goes to the Federation of France, but League One, the actual league, is going to lose out on the Bordeaux rights. They're going to lose out on Bordeaux's attendance. That's all going to go to Serie C, or League C, or League Tres, or whatever it is in France. But it's affecting leagues of football now, not just teams.
100%. And
Chelsea's going to be on a struggle bus now. They're not just parking the bus; they got to struggle the bus.
Struggle the bus. It sounds selfish to say, oh, well, Chelsea boohoo because of Barcelona, they bullied us. No. The bottom line is this. I still think when you look at it clinically and critically, Chelsea messed up on the Koundé deal. He was a last resort this summer. Chelsea was trying to get him last year. They took way too long. They didn't agree with Sevilla. I'm more pissed off that Sevilla would sell to a direct rival. There's a history. Luke de Jong and a few other players have gone across. Yes. But I mean, it doesn't make sense when Chelsea were willing to offer more. At the end of the day, it comes down to apparently Koundé talked to Xavi, he talked to Tuchel, and he liked Xavi's plans better. That's fine. Fair enough. I don't think Chelsea has anyone to blame but themselves. Even Rafinha, we were dilly-dallying with Dembele first. So I think both of these transfers, it's become a meme, but when you really look at it from a rational perspective, Chelsea only has Chelsea to blame. And I'm saying this as a Chelsea fan. So I'm not going to sit here and play the victim saying Barcelona took these guys from us, this and that. I just want Barcelona to be held accountable for any potential wages that they don't pay players that they're entitled to, wages that they don't pay staff, and this sense of entitlement from them is what's really irritating me. Good for them. They've spent the money really well. They've had a 10 out of 10 window, but at what cost?
With an asterisk.
With an asterisk. And personally for me, as I said, someone who had an affinity for Lionel Messi and Barcelona from my childhood, I cannot stand them as a club now. And if Real Madrid was to win La Liga for the next 56 years in a row without ever losing to Barcelona, I'd be happy.
It's interesting. Like the Koundé deal is interesting to me because the more I look at some of these transfers, and I'm a neutral party. I know.
Yeah.
The Koundé deal, the Rafinha deal, those ones kind of make sense.
Yeah.
Koundé being a French player, France, Spain is always kind of, those waters are always kind of muddied when it comes to players and going and playing in which league. Yeah. Rafinha, he's already talked about how he grew up with
the posters.
Barcelona. Yeah. So those two kind of make sense. The deals that don't make sense to me are the Christensen deal.
Yeah.
Which he's a free. Kessié going to Barcelona. Turning down, by the way, a bigger contract from Milan after having just won Serie A with Milan.
Yeah.
And being a huge staple of that team and being appreciated by AC Milan fans, 100%. Which we'll touch base on later. And then the Lewandowski deal. I think, is a little bit more personal for him. I think, like we talked about previously, I think that's just him wanting to show up on the biggest stage and get his name out there. I don't think he cares about what badge it was on the front. I think he just wanted to, get his Ballon d'Or eventually, which hopefully he does. But
hopefully he does, yeah.
It calls into question, like you said, at what point do players? Is this the beginning of the new leaf that we wanted, where it was players don't care about the money, they want to play for the shirt? Are we getting what we asked for and just not liking what we're seeing? Or is it, this weird mudded water of players also, they do want to play for the money, but they also want to play for the shirt. And so now we got to decide. Yeah. The other thing that this is going to impact, and we talked about ripple effects, is if Barcelona is able to get away with this, unless they are able to just absolutely publish a Time magazine of this is how we did it, this number, this number, this number, this number, we're never going to know. And we're always going to wonder, was it legal? Was it clean money? Was it how they did it? What happened behind the scenes? And other clubs are going to look at this. What's going to stop Chelsea from next season going, you know what? Well, $1 billion in debt for a Champions League. Sounds good to me.
Actually, it's interesting.
Or PSG.
Yeah. Like Dazer said in chat up there, Barcelona will get the PSG treatment. I think it's funny because, you think of Barcelona as like this colossal historical club, which it is, don't get me wrong. But like you said, now these questions are going to start to creep in. Was it done the right way? There's a lot of teams that are seen as trying to buy the league or whatever, but this is just pure recklessness at this point, right? Also, to clear something up, Spencer says the FFF, which is the French Federation in France, decided that Bordeaux can stay in League 2 after restructuring debt and promising to sell players to raise money. That's good. That's great to hear.
Good
but
for
again,
them.
I think the bottom line is
you're still impacting those players, though.
Exactly.
Sorry to cut you off.
No,
You're still impacting the league. You're still impacting those players. Like those players came to Bordeaux to play for the Bordeaux shirt in League 1. That you're now impacting if they have to sell 5 players to make that money up, those 5 players' careers are now impacted. Those 5 players' families are now impacted. They have families. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think of it as a father of 2 if I had to come home and be like, hey kids, sorry, we got shipped off to Croatia because the team needed money. That kind of sucks. You know what I mean? So I don't know. The only thing I can think that's going to save this is one, Xavi goes on this godlike Zidane rampage where he wins, the quadruple this year, or Barcelona's jersey next year looks like one of the Mexican kits that has 100 sponsors on it.
It's going to be interesting.
Spotify, Corona, Coca-Cola, Fly Emirates,
I already called
Pirelli, Barcelona.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think that's.
I don't know, man. And like you said, Chelsea, go on the Chelsea deal. They're your season now is on hinges.
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't surprise me. Like I said, I think I'll be as objective as I can and say that I think Chelsea's failure in this transfer window, which isn't really like we still have brought two fantastic players, Raheem Sterling and Koulibaly, and don't get me wrong, very excited for those two. But I think as much as the easy option is to go out there and say, Barcelona ruined Chelsea's transfer window, I think Chelsea was fully responsible for maybe, assuming that these players were willing to. Why would they ever go to Barcelona? And so at the end of the day, I think that comes down to just Chelsea's recruitment. And it's not the first time. Remember when Courtois snaked Chelsea?
True.
Yes, he didn't handle it properly, and he left Chelsea in a very precarious position where they were forced to overspend. But again, they were desperate for a goalkeeper and ended up getting, we all know, the biggest meme goalkeeper in the world, Kepa Arrizabalaga, for like 70 million as a panic buy. And that's where we are now. Every center back, the entire world knows Chelsea needs a center back. The entire world knows this, and now that Koundé's gone to Barcelona, I think it's going to be interesting to see these teams try to milk Chelsea for that.
I would say, which means money in their eyes.
Exactly, it's
you need me, I don't need you.
100%. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting.
I wonder if that does that? You think that speaks on Tuchel? Because I know he was kind of criticized as not really having a clue on what to do tactically with the players that he had. Do you think that speaks on Tuchel for not really maybe having a vision, or maybe being able to communicate his vision? Or
no,
I mean, because originally when he came in, you guys were really high. You're like, he came in half season, we won a Champions League and blah blah blah, and you're like, this is phenomenal. But I mean, as a Chelsea fan, you have to be honest that Champions League run is kind of a 1 of 100. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which, by the way,
especially
also I do want to say this. Sorry to cut you off, but this is the second time I've heard that this week, and I just want to say a lot of people are discrediting. Not you saying you are, but I've heard this from a lot of people saying that Chelsea's run was whatever. Don't forget they beat Real Madrid. Everyone's gonna say they weren't full strength. Whatever. Here's the deal. Since 2012, it's happened twice where they've had a fairy tale run, and yes, it may not be the cleanest, most perfect facing 10 out of 10 difficulty teams.
None of them are
dominating them. None of them are. A trophy is a trophy. The bottom line is Thomas Tuchel has taken Chelsea to a Carabao Cup final, an FA Cup final twice, lost to Leicester, lost to Liverpool, both domestic cup finals on penalties, by the way, which were very, very close matches, and won the Champions League. So there's a bit of, I think, a lot of discredit, I think, that Tuchel gets memed for, and I think that he's done a phenomenal job. Touching on your point about him maybe not knowing exactly how to utilize the players, I think that's just the nature of Chelsea's history. We never have a system, we never have an identity, we never have a style. We have a bunch of players that fill holes for multiple managers that keep coming in and out through a revolving door, and so whenever someone takes over, he's trying to put together this recipe with a bunch of ingredients that don't make sense because there's no direction for it. So I think Tuchel has a way that he wants to play, but I think the players that were brought in just don't fit that style, and he needs to be given years. Look at Jurgen Klopp. True. He was given time. Look at Arteta. It's the process. They've been given time to implement their style, and I still think that Arteta, for me personally, the fact that they stuck with Arteta was the right choice. They got memed, they got whatever. Arsenal looks really good. Arsenal looks levels
and young.
Arsenal at this moment in time are levels ahead of Chelsea in terms of their cohesion, their structure, their identity, their style, their mentality, everything.
Their future.
That's it. So it's deeper than that, man. Yeah. I think it's a very deep topic, and like I said, the main thing I want people to take away from this is, as a Chelsea fan, as much as I'm pissed off at the way Barcelona has chosen to go about doing these things, I don't think that they are. I'm not going to sit here and take the easy way out and blame them for Chelsea's lack of transfers this summer, if that makes sense.
It's true.
Good talk.
I think you guys. I think you guys might replace Arsenal as the meme team this year.
It very well could be.
Honestly,
very well.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is the good signs are you guys have a lot of young players that you're still. You got back from loan. Gallagher's coming back. He had a phenomenal season last year.
100%. And Broha might stay now because West Ham got Scamacca. So I think it's not all doom and gloom. Yes, things could be done a little differently and a little smoother, but I don't think it's doom and gloom. I think we should probably move on, though. I want to say one more topic, and you can add to it if you want to. But Spencer says, great comment. So in relation to the whole Bordeaux thing and how it was Barcelona's payments directly, but the whole thing affects other people. Spencer says, also verifying that I was correct on the Bordeaux thing. I saw an article saying that Bordeaux had to lay off 70 staff members, which goes back to it's not just players that money affects. It's other stuff.
That's a lot of.
So yeah,
that's a lot of staff members. I'd be interested to see the list of where they come from. But
exactly.
Wow.
Is there anything else you want to add to this topic, Mykal?
No, I mean, I want to say we beat this horse into the ground, but
It is the story of the summer, man.
Every week they come up with something new, some new players. I saw that they were linked to the keeper from RSL in the MLS, the young Ochoa brother. I actually don't know if they're brothers, but it's Ochoa's name.
Yeah.
He was linked to Bayern, Man United, Barcelona, and I think Real Madrid was some other big name. Basically, a lot of clubs want to bring him as a third tier, but it's still a $15 million deal. Yeah. And I'm like, good Lord, man. If you're willing to spend $15 million on a third tier goalkeeper,
yeah,
I don't know. But like I said, I think we beat it to the ground. It's just a matter of how deep does this ground go anymore with these guys.
And a good segue, I think, into our next topic, because I think someone said, I think it was Dazer who said in chat earlier, Barcelona's maybe going to get the PSG treatment moving forward. And a team that we did want to talk about, which we didn't talk about last episode, was PSG. What are they doing? I think, we looked at some of their transfers in. And, like you said, Mykal, when we talked about this, they're going with youth here. I mean, they brought in Vitinha, 22 years old. Sorry, he was the biggest signing. Nuno Mendes becomes permanent, who's only 20. And then Nordi Mukiele, the
phenomenal.
Yeah. And then Nordi Mukiele. So their wingback positions are locked with, him coming in as well at 24 years old. And, of course, they have Hakimi in there already. Mykal, what are they doing? Like, are they planning for the future? Can they afford to plan for the future?
This would be another one where I would love to see the docuseries on this one eventually. The first season that we get Mbappe as, running the show of PSG, we see a lot of youth and we see a lot of, I want to say big names, but Mendes was already there. So that one was kind of a no-brainer. If anybody watched PSG play last year, you knew that deal was going to go through. And I think he's going to be a player where we look back and we're like, they got Nuno Mendes for 41 million. Holy smokes. Sporting got fleeced, I think. That's crazy. But I don't know, man. With Mbappe in that deal. I mean, PSG flexing their money muscles, but at the same time, they didn't really. Like, if we look at the transfers that they brought in, it's 3 signings, and one of them is a loan with a transfer with an option to buy.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, 4 total.
Yeah.
One of them is an option to buy. So
very shrewd spending by PSG standards.
Yeah, which I don't know if we can take that as PSG maybe don't have the money that they think they did anymore after paying Mbappe, or they're shortening his leash and just seeing kind of what his options are, or if Mbappe thinks the team is good enough right now. I mean, let me also clarify this. It's not just Mbappe. Like, if we meme about it, it's not just Mbappe's making the deal. He has a say in it. I think he has like a I want to say it was like 33% or something like that. He has like a not a majority, but a good chunk of say.
His voice will be heard.
But the deal itself, his deal scares me, and I think we haven't talked on this one at all. And this was probably the biggest deal of the summer / end of season last year. Are we going to see more deals like this in the future?
I hope not.
I hope that De Jong gets this type of deal and he becomes the owner of Barcelona after all the shit he's going through with them. But but it's very interesting to have this kind of we've always kind of, a lot of the player manager type roles that we see are usually players in their twilight transitioning into managerial. We don't really see it out of what Mbappe's 21. We don't see it out of players at that stage. So at what point is it going to affect him in terms of on the field? Is it going to affect him on the field? Is he looking at players different now because he has to keep an eye out for who he's playing against? So
this is a huge thing too. And I would argue actually it's going to affect his current relationships, because you already kind of see, with Neymar, there's some murmurs of discontent going on now that Mbappe doesn't quite jive with him as much as we thought he would. Neymar and Messi are best friends, always have been. Mbappe's the odd one out. So it's going to be really interesting for dressing room atmosphere too, because I mean, let's put yourself in the shoes of the other PSG players, and you know that as soon as Mbappe walks in the room, you know that his presence in the team holds more weight than yours does. And how does that affect the whole cohesive, the whole team? Like, I'm not saying Mbappe is a bad guy or anything, but I mean, it's
not a conversation anymore.
It's not. No,
he tells you something, it's law.
Exactly. And I've grown up in the era of no player is bigger than the club. You play for the badge, you respect the club. So it's really an interesting and odd move, I think, for PSG to put so much stock into convincing him to stay at what cost. I think it's gonna cause a lot of issues here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I don't know what the long term is going to be. I hope it goes well. I'll be honest with you. I have no ill will towards PSG. I know a lot of football fans meme them as Oil FC and all this kind of thing, and um, I don't think that they're probably going to win Champions League anytime soon because of the league they're playing. But I don't think that's their fault. Um, I don't think that they are going to see the competition that they need in League One for a couple of years. Um, and I think that's why they're probably not going to win a Champions League. But they're still a phenomenal team. But what can they do? Like,
Yeah.
They're trying to throw money at it and throw money at it and throw money at it. But at what point do they need to not throw money at it anymore? And they just are like, okay, well, those owners pick up their shoes and they move to England and they buy Nottingham Forest, because there's the stiffness of competition there. And I think that was one of the reasons that Newcastle got that big buyer is because there's rather than buying a team in France or any other big leagues where they have 2 or 3 powerhouses and that's it. A lot of teams or people are starting to invest into England because that's where the competition is. But
100%.
I think PSG is going to be an interesting one. Like long term, I think for the next 2 years, I don't really think we're going to get a firm answer. I think it's going to be probably around 5-6 years is when we're going to see what PSG are capable of. Because I mean, to your point, you mentioned earlier, Vitinha is 22, Nuno Mendes is 20, Mykal is 24.
Yeah.
Ekitike is 20. He's the one that's coming in on loan with the option to buy.
Yep.
These are young players,
Yeah.
Who's the Areola they lost? Di Maria left on a free. They didn't really lose anybody other than Di Maria, who was 34.
Yep.
Areola is just he's
Xavi
top tier
Simons.
keeper.
Yeah.
Xavi Simons went to Simon
PSV.
Simmons.
Yeah.
Went to PSV.
Yeah.
Went back to PSV. Excuse me. He went on free. Never mind.
Yep.
Just kidding.
Yep.
But they bring Rafinha back in, so they got experience there. So Rabia is coming back in. What's I don't know what the direction of that club is because they still have Messi. Messi's still in the books. They don't what formation are they going to run? What the direction of the club is? Nobody really knows. And that's what I think they struggled to get a manager too. Is which a lot of people didn't talk about. Is you think that a club of PSG stature
managers would be lining up for that.
Yeah, you think when you have Zinedine Zidane, who's like, I don't want money. I want to go. I'd rather not coach. That should speak some sort of volumes for your team.
I agree. The Ali says a good point in chat here. He said that's the problem of having too much ego in a team in regards to Mbappe. And he says he's glad that it's failed and continuing to do so. And then I think he had a bit of an adverse reaction to you saying you didn't feel any ill will towards him. I don't think I have any ill will. I just think it's refreshing to see that just throwing money without a plan doesn't always work. That still gives me some faith in the spirit of a team and a unit and a system together, playing together. Like Liverpool has done it, I think, the right way. They've built a team. There's no right or wrong. Sorry, I don't want to sound like I'm on a high horse. But I think it's much more rewarding when you see someone put it together from the ground up. Not saying Liverpool had to do it from the ground up or they were a small club or anything, but just it's been a more complete, targeted, structured approach than just Neymar, Messi, Mbappe, come,
Well, yeah, to your point, and since we're running with the Liverpool metaphor, if you look at some of the players that they have, they're huge now when they got them. Even Van Dijk. Van Dijk was a bigger name, and a lot of clubs wanted him when Liverpool landed him. That's true. But he came from Southampton. Wasn't it Southampton, if I remember right?
Yeah.
Salah was regarded as a failure at a lot of clubs.
Roma, Chelsea.
Decent career at Roma. I don't want to say he failed at Roma. He had a decent career at Roma, but Roma was struggling at that point.
Fiorentina, Chelsea.
Chelsea, offloaded him, said that he wasn't Premier League quality. Sorry, H2.
Which was ridiculous because he literally got 40 minutes for us, and I remember watching him and saying he's special. But anyways, yeah.
Yep. And now Liverpool signed him for, at this point, if you look at his valuation, like a bag of chips and a soda, and he's, a Ballon d'Or contender every year. Um, look at some of the other players that they're bringing in. Luis Diaz, like, granted,
Phenomenal.
Luis Diaz showed off at the Copa America. Anybody that watched the Copa America, I knew Luis Diaz was going to go somewhere. It was just a matter of where. Um, he was phenomenal at Porto, but honestly, playing in Liga NOS, it's hard to leave there and go somewhere unless you are the player. Like, unless you're Bruno Fernandes every single season, you know. So when he showed off in the Copa America, I knew he was going to go somewhere. But they're still getting these players on such a cheap value. To your point, PSG are going up. Neymar is one of the best players in the world. We're going to go bring him in, you know, and then you don't really see a lot of their youth system.
There's no.
As far as I know,
yeah,
they don't even have a youth system. As far as I know,
well,
they bought Mbappe.
Guys like Nkunku and people who have come through their youth system get shipped off elsewhere. I think, without extremes, but I think you could almost compare the way PSG has been operating to the way Chelsea operates in a way, where they did have a lot of good players that have come from the academy that never necessarily got a chance. They always went for the flashy big name signings without really a plan, and I'm not saying they're the same in terms of like spending power, or like obviously PSG is a bit more extreme, but like we said, there's the teams like PSG and Chelsea who just buy players because of the players' names without much of a plan, without much of a strategy. And then there's the teams like Liverpool, at Al, whoever else you want to add in there. I would say, even Bayern Munich buys players that fit, even though everyone memes Bayern Munich for buying players from the league and this and that, they still buy players that make sense for the team. There's no denying that. I don't care that, like, it's not about where they buy the players from. I'm just talking about the way recruitment is done by these teams. There's a side which is just, this guy's a good player because of his name, but there's a side with, hey, this guy might not be the biggest name player right now, but he fits what we want to do. And I think we're seeing success more so on that end than we are.
Yeah. Garen raises a good point. It's still the big choice. The two choices you have as a footballer right now are big money or win trophies.
100%.
And I don't think we're ever going to get away from that, honestly. But it's I don't know what PSG are going to do both, honestly. Yeah. I think PSG are trying to be that club that want to do both, and like, yeah, come to Paris, we'll give you, 20 million a year and we'll win trophies. It's like, well, yeah, you can win that silver plate every year that they give you for the League One, but it, like, does Messi even hang that up in his trophy cabinet? Like, you beat a bunch of school teachers,
actually, yeah, Dazzler in chat had a really funny comment. He said League is basically PSG's preseason for the Champions League.
It is, and that's what I was saying earlier. It's like they'll never win the Champions League as far as I'm concerned, because they struggle in the group stages. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, there's always one or two teams that give them a tough run in the group stages, and they'll make it out as a top seed usually, but they struggle against these teams from other top tiers. Like German teams usually give them a run for money. Barcelona, I mean, literally came back from how many goals to beat them? I mean, they struggle against these big teams because they play teams who have a quarter of their salary in their league, and that's all they have.
100%. Dazzler also raises another good point, not to harp too much on Liverpool's recruitment, but he is a Fulham fan in chat, and he's saying Carvalho, who just left from Fulham to Liverpool, will be one of the bargains of the decade. That is a signing that has gone completely under the radar globally. Like, about it if you follow along, but again, the business they do is just smart. Even Darwin Nunez, everyone's saying, and I don't want to go on a Liverpool tangent, but everyone's saying, oh, he's going to be, they're already comparing him to Haaland. But I think when Liverpool buys a player, I take notice because I know that they have a plan for them.
Yeah, Klopp's not the kind of guy who just buys a player just to just have a name on his roster. Like, Klopp doesn't give a damn if you're going to sell jerseys or not.
100%.
He gives a damn if you're going to get a winner's medal at the end of the season.
100%.
And one of the meme signings that people, even Liverpool fans, are guilty of this. One of the meme signings that they, I guess they try to meme the signing is Diego Jota. They're like, oh, we signed Diego Jota.
Phenomenal signing.
And then we don't know, he's not been this worse, he's not been this worse, he's not been this worse. They signed a guy who could play both wings positions and play striker. He could take over Bobby Firmino's role when he leaves. He can play the 8, he can play the 9, he can play the 10, he can play the 7. He plays everything.
Premier League proven.
The guy can play every position up front that you want in that system. To me, getting him at that cheap of a deal, Klopp's a master
And here's the thing with that too. Sorry, I just it's such a good signing because with him too, with Diogo Jota, you get him, but they didn't have to pay the exorbitant Premier League tax
Mhm,
that say Chelsea is going to pay if they will go for Declan Rice. It's like yes,
mhm.
Declan Rice is a great player, but there's surely smarter business to be done, and you don't see teams like Liverpool going for even they got someone from the same league they play in, but did it in an efficient way. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's turned more into a
Did you s-
Liverpool applause, but still, yeah,
did
just
you
me.
see the meme of the Declan Rice memes where it's like Declan Rice and it's 100 million and he's like Doklan Roque
The
and it's
name,
like
yeah,
50
yeah,
million.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So for those of you that don't know,
Those
it's
are
a
so
meme
good.
basically presenting Declan Rice as different nationalities. And so like if he was Brazilian,
Price
Portuguese,
going down
whatever, price goes down. But as soon as he's Declan Rice, because it's the Premier League tax, he gets inflated.
150 million or
Um,
whatever. Yeah.
Newman has a
And
great
again,
point. Go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say like we tried not to make this into a Liverpool thing, but I think it's at that if we're all honest football fans, like we can all hate Liverpool at the end of the day, and that's totally fine. But as a fan of football, not maybe not a club or anything like that, but as a fan of football,
Of the
you have
sport,
to step back and you have to go. There's a club, there's a board, there's a manager who are doing it right. There's a reason they're getting results. There's a reason they're at the top, and there's a reason that they're not spending a shit ton of money every
hundred
season.
percent.
Just because they know what they're looking for. They have a manager who's in a system who's proven that he has the ability and the trust in his players. He's a manager who players want to play for.
That's the
I've
key
never
too.
heard anybody have issues with Jurgen Klopp.
Yep.
When's the last time you've heard any player come out and be like, F Jurgen Klopp, I never want to play for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's a scumbag, blah, blah, blah. Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody you talk to about him wants to die on his sword.
100%.
So I think at the end of the day, we all hate Liverpool, but it's easy to hate those who are doing everything right.
As DJ Khaled would say, suffering from success.
Mm-hmm. Another
Newman's
one.
Newman says PSG is a team of individuals, not players who play for the team itself. Exactly that. That's exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer makes a joke saying PSG got knocked out of their domestic cup by Nice, so they bought their manager. And Dazer exactly talks about what we were just saying. We can't remember Liverpool's last proper flop signing because
Yeah.
I don't think there has been in a while.
Your mic's kind of doing that thing
Sorry,
where it goes in
I'm
and out, by the way.
walking
But
around. Yeah.
on the PSG note, it's I think another thing for them too is not only are you splashing cash on all these players, but it's a cohesion thing. I mean, they've been through 4 managers in 5 years. Which we've all been talking about in the last couple or the last episode and earlier in this stream, where you got to have consistency in your manager,
Mhm.
consistency in your plan. But they're also buying players from all over hell. That I mean, there's no cohesion in that locker room in terms of just personalities.
Mhm.
You got Neymar who's doing his own thing. You got Messi who doesn't say a word to anybody.
Yeah.
Mbappe who's a TikTok star. You got, I mean, they should have brought Pogba in. Honestly, that team would have been a meme in its own right. Hakimi, they got like Verratti in the midfield. They brought Donnarumma in, who's a young, as Milan would say, young punk. So there's no cohesion in like they don't look at personalities. They don't look at anything. They're just looking at
Names.
This player won an award for team of the year. We want him on our team right now.
100%. I came
know.
across something funny on Reddit. I'm just going to switch to my stream view here because I want to show you guys this. And I'll share the link here in Mykal's chat as well if you guys want to take a look at it. But basically, it was we all know PSG is in their preseason tour of Japan, and so the Japanese fans took offense to the ticket pricing. So I'm just going to show you guys here. During PSG's summer tour of Japan, fans from the local club held up a banner saying 3,000 yuan, which is the local currency, for our team to watch them play against 6 times Champions League winners Bayern, but then 5,000 more yuan to watch PSG, who haven't even won a Champions League. Are you joking? That's what this banner right here says. And I thought that's really, like you see the branding here, PSG Japan Tour. It's all about commercialism for there. They're charging 5,000 more yuan to watch their local team play against PSG, who have never won a Champions League, versus 6-time winners Bayern Munich, and it was 3,000 of the local currency. So it's all about commercialism for them.
I mean, it also speaks to the fact that look at the preseason tour that they're doing versus look at what all the other teams that are trying to win trophies are doing.
Yeah.
Like you meme on Premier League team. I don't say you, but people in general. People in general meme on Premier League teams who go to play in North America, play in MLS. They play against teams from Mexico. But look at the results. It's not 18-0 like PSG is doing to teams in China. Not that I think what they had a 6-0 or something like that was their biggest result. But it's not these meme off games. These are competitive games. And you also have the showcases where it's Arsenal v Chelsea. You got Real Madrid, Barca played here.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have teams that are playing teams of the same stature
Mm-hmm.
that are wanting to. Yes, they're playing some of the smaller teams to get the fitness in and to build the ticket receipts and those kind of things. But they're also playing these big clubs, trying in these neutral venues. And why do you think a lot of these teams are playing in neutral venues?
Yeah.
It's because the big trophies are played in neutral venues.
By the way, when we talk about preseason friendlies, completely off topic, huge shout out to Club America, man. They played in the middle of their season. They played Manchester City and lost 2-1. They played Chelsea and lost 2-1. They played Real Madrid and drew, was it 2-2? Whatever. Huge 2-2. Shout out to them in the middle of their season. Club America putting in work. Dazer, I see your comments about Nottingham Forest. Great topic. We talked about it on the first episode, so if you want to, feel free to jump onto the YouTube and watch that, or a VOD on either of our channels. But yeah, we did touch on Forest, and really good point there. And yeah, Spencer's just asking, did we see Neymar's massive flop in a friendly when they were on tour? He's out-moving himself. Exactly.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah.
I guess,
yeah.
You're playing in China. This guy barely grabs your, like, I tweeted this. So if you're not following me on Twitter, selfless plug, follow me on Twitter. But is it a foul? Yes. Did he make contact? Yes.
See, I argue
does it
wasn't
deserve
foul, but
the 5 to 10 day flop
generous.
that he did?
You're being generous.
Yeah, there's
I
not a
touched,
chance.
Honestly, yeah. Like, what is he doing, man? Yeah, unbelievable. So yeah, I think what we take away from this is what the hell is going on at PSG. We'll never know. The scary thing is the precedent that has been set by giving one player so much power. And I think the first two topics we've had on today's show, the Barcelona issue and this issue, the Mbappe power issue, will be looked at as historical moments in football at some point, whether good or bad. I think these are super defining pieces of footballing history that we're gonna see have an impact in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anything else you want to add on the PSG topic, or can we move on to our next topic?
I don't think so. I mean, that's another team, and then we've kind of touched base on this with every team that we talked about a little bit. It's another team where I think they might be hedging their bets a little bit because of where the World Cup is.
Yeah.
I think PSG might look to be one of those teams who put their name in the hat for the next James Rodriguez type signing, where some player just pops off in this international tournament and they need to bring people in. So I think PSG, same with Newcastle, when we touch base on them, I think they might be two teams that are going to be big spenders come January.
Let's call it calculated big spending. But yeah, I don't
know if PSG's will be calculated. I think that one's just going to be an open book.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with everything that's been said, and we'll wait and see how it plays out for PSG. Okay. Moving on. Serie A is a league that we haven't really talked much about. We did touch on it in the first episode with some rumors and things like that. We've had a few more moves since then. The biggest one being, I think, a question mark that we left off from the first episode was what is going on with Juventus's backline. Of course, Chiellini has gone over to the MLS, and we were wondering who's going to be, the guy that shores up their defense. They have made their first center back signing of the transfer window. Bremer, the Brazilian center back, joining from Torino. I don't have the exact figures here, but he is one that is quite an exciting, actually, center back. For those of you, and I hate making comparisons, but those of you that play FM will very much know about the man's name, and he is one for the future, I think, and he's proven that he can kind of do it at in the league that they are operating in, which is the Serie A. Bremer comes in 35 million euros is the official fee. 25 years old, so not one for the future completely, but still someone that is a bit younger. Do we think there's going to be more that needs to be done? I think, was the Pogba transfer official when I don't think it was official, but Bremer comes in, and then of course Pogba goes back along with Di Maria, who we touched on last time. So I guess I'll just lob it over to you, bro. Do you have any thoughts about what Juventus is doing? Are they doing smart business or what?
I think they're one of many teams right now that are moving to the future in terms of players that they're looking at. I think Juve has enough players on their team right now, and especially with the quality that's in Serie A. I will say, in my opinion, and this is going to be a hot take, but
I love
in my opinion,
let's go.
Serie A is the second hardest league in the world.
Oh, that's not a hot take. I like it.
I think Premier League is easily the hardest league in the world.
Wait, you're telling me it's not the MLS?
No, don't tempt me. But I think Serie A is the second hardest league in the world. The registration rules it's got a lower salary than what a Big Five league you would expect. You can only sign one non-European player per season. You could sign 100, but you can only register one per season, which sounds easy to do, but then you realize how many teams want these Brazilian players, these Colombian players. You look at big names like Rafinha, Luis Diaz last year. You look at Kessié, who left Milan, but then you got a lot of players who, including English players now, who you can only sign one of a year. So it's hard. It's a hard league, and it's a talented league. And there's not a huge gap between, I would say, 5th place to relegation.
Agreed.
At the end of the table, it looks that way. But if you actually go and watch a Serie A match, the reason it goes down to the last game every year almost for who wins the league is because every game is crucial. You look at Inter Milan lost. Granted, it was off of a backup keeper coming in,
The mistake,
but they lost their championship off of one goal. You know, that one goal changes a result. It changes the league, everything.
100%.
AC Milan had to go down to their last game. Granted, they ended up winning that game, I think 4-1. But even the teams that are in relegation push these top flight teams every single game. Now, I will say that there are still 4 power teams. Obviously, you got the Milans, Juve, and then Napoli kind of flexes in there every now and then. It kind of flops in that 5th place with Napoli,
Roma, and Lazio.
Yeah. But you don't see. There is gone are the days of Juve's number 1
dominance,
and then you're fighting for number 2. I think we're getting back to what it was when you had both Milans were healthy.
100%.
You had the Milan Derby. The battle for Milan is the San Siro, by the way, on Milan Derby Day is one of my bucket list items. And if you're a football fan, it should be yours too. But I don't know what Juve are doing. I think they're planning for the future. I think they're good enough right now. Was the point that I'm getting at right now? Excuse me, to maintain Champions League football. I think they've kind of come to grips with the fact that they're not title contenders right now. They may get the Scudetto, but not the Scudetto, but the Coppa Italia. But I don't think they're going to get Scudetto for a while. But I think they're planning for the future. Now, the counter to that argument is they just sold the best young player probably in the world right now, or one of the best young players in the world, and Delict. So it'd be really interesting to see what they do with that 100 million or whatever it was. I think it was 80 million or something. 70 million. I don't know. I'm just going to keep throwing numbers out there until someone in chat fact checks me. But
the outgoing of Matthias de Ligt from Juventus in euros was 67 million, according to Transfer
67 million. Okay, 73 million US. 63. Okay, so what I think they're Allegri's still a good manager. Juve's still a good team. They still have
coming off a huge injury too. We'll see how that affects his.
So bringing Bremer in fixes it. Chiesa's official now, but
Vlahovic second season.
There's no doubt.
Yeah,
I actually think they got worse with the Paul Pogba signing. So I don't think Paul Pogba was the same player.
Well, speaking about Paul Pogba, we talked about this too. He's potentially not going to feature until 2023. He has a knee injury.
Well, we haven't talked about it yet. You and I talked about it.
Yeah, we were going to talk about it. Sorry, Dazer mentioned it in chat too. Pogba's already injured. Question mark. Exactly that. Like you said, I think the Pogba situation is looking precarious a week into it. Like what's going on there? Lost leadership at the back.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, they're saying it's a training injury, but they are also saying that he wasn't reporting to training because of traveling. So that one kind of leads a little bit to
the drama begins.
Well, which one is it? I think they know though that their back line is what's suspect to them because I mean they obviously signed Bremer, which was an immediate replacement for Delict, but you have Bonucci who's 99 years old, Chiellini who's in MLS right now, playing golf with Bale every day. They're linked with Gabriel from Arsenal, so I think they know that their back line's suspect. The other thing for me though is I think they've lost interest in Vlahovic already. He came in. He was supposed to be the next big deal. He kind of had a flop,
wasn't it? Like it was a huge amount of money too.
And then you look at the other 2 players that they're linked to currently are Bobby Firmino and Timo Werner.
Please,
Juventus, to me,
take him. Yeah,
I think Timo Werner, by the way, would kill it in Italy.
I think so too.
Like no joke. I think he would.
Yeah.
absolutely do well in the league. I think
Yep.
we'd get to see Bundesliga Timo Werner again.
Hmm.
Bobby Firmino doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I don't
Mhm.
understand that one at all. But they also signed Di Maria on a free, who's 34.
Hmm.
So to me, I think if you look at the Di Maria deal, you look at the Paul Pogba deal, I think they're bringing in 1 or 2 players right now who are going to carry them for 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
But then you look at everybody else that's coming in behind them. Bremer's 25, Chiesa's 24, Cambiaso from Genoa, by the way, that's a cheap signing. That's going to be really good. 22.
Hmm.
Moretti, they brought him up from their U23 system on an official deal. Demiral is coming back from loan, and he's going to get playing time already. He's already played for him in the friendly matches.
Yep.
He's 24. Rovella is coming back.
Yep.
He's 20.
Yep.
They have youth. The issue that
Ihataren is coming back to Mo Ihataren from his loan at Ajax, 20 years old.
Yep. The concerning part for me is Allegri has been notorious for not doing well with young players, which is why they have bought big in the past. So I think one of 2 things is going to happen. Either Juve are going to absolutely explode, and everybody's going to be like, wow, Juve is so smart for the deals that they brought in. Look at this. Or we're seeing the beginning of a new staple for Juve where we're going to see a new manager at some point. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear names like Zidane or Mourinho. But I think that's it. From my point of view, I think that's what Juve is doing. I think it's Juve are on the 10-year plan. They're offloading. They're letting the players say goodbye. They're letting the homecomings and everything go. And Chiellini's gone. Bonucci's gone. Probably at the end of the season.
Yeah.
I think gone are the days of Juve. I think now is the day of the 10-year plan where they're happy with Champions League, and that's it.
Interesting. Ali with some no holds barred telling us how he feels in chat over on Twitch here. Juve are dumb. I don't care. They're the next worst thing in transfer business after PSG. Revolting.
Harsh, isn't it?
Let's go, Ali. Just want to catch up on chat. There's a few great comments in here. So I think the one thing, and for those of you watching on YouTube, Mykal and I are both streaming this live on Twitch as we speak. It'll be uploaded to YouTube later, so feel free to check our Twitches out if you want to be a part of the conversation when it's live. Links are in the description below. But one thing chat had a consensus on is that Serie A has like 7 to 8 really good teams. Dazer said it, Spencer said it, Gavin said it. Gavin says he spent a lot of seasons watching every Napoli game. I know that he is a Napoli. He loves watching Napoli. And he said the league can be super tight after your top 6. We could probably go on and on for this, but I do want to talk on, firstly, the whole Pogba thing obviously was a thing we wanted to talk about. Something we didn't even touch on during this whole conversation was Paulo Dybala has left, and he's gone over to Roma.
Yeah, and, I didn't even think. So I guess maybe to discredit my point earlier, and I'm sorry to just, Thomas train engine your sentence here, but maybe the Firmino deal does make a little bit more sense. Maybe he slots into that Dybala type role where he's
the deep playing forward type role.
So okay, I take that one back. I stand corrected. I'll have to wait and see how that one goes. If it goes through, I don't even know if it's going to.
But yeah, just talking on the Dybala thing as we deviate a little bit from Juve. I'm sure you guys have all seen this, and again, I'm gonna put my Google search into Michael's chat in case you guys want to click there, so you can see exactly what I'm looking at. Sorry for the long link, but I'm just gonna show you guys, and you've probably seen this already. I mean, the reception that this guy got was just bone chilling in a good way. We've all seen the videos. If you haven't, please check out Dybala's reception at Roma. I think he sold the most shirts in Serie A other than Ronaldo, was it?
Didn't they say it was kind of like the Lewandowski deal where they ran out of Ys or something like that?
I mean, look at this, man. The entire city came alive. Look at this picture right here. Gave me chills. He's on a building, for crying out loud. I think that's a great signing for them. I mean, in terms of the hype, everyone seems really optimistic. Which I was a little surprised by. I thought we're at a stage in Dybala's career where it's is it going to work out? Is he going to be that wonder kid we remember from Palermo that, we all fell in love with? But I think he could have a great resurgence at Roma. And that is a club that I want to talk about because I have a Chelsea connection with Roma. I'm not saying anything, but I mean, Mourinho and Tammy, which kind of hurts me. Tammy leaving. But I think Roma is a dark horse, man. And maybe not much of a dark horse, but it just touches on how competitive that league is now. You had Inter and Milan scrapping it out. Juventus has always been kind of the giant there. And then you have Roma, which, I think they're gonna be a team to watch. Gavin here touches on exactly what we're saying. Football in Italy is more than a religion. Napoli players can't go anywhere without being mobbed. Exactly. And I think it's just Italy is a great league that if you guys haven't had a chance to watch as much over the last few years, now is like the perfect time to jump in and watch that league this year, because there's just so many teams that look so promising. Atalanta goes about their business very quietly. We touched on this the first season, but I mean, they had 94 people coming back from loan.
Yeah.
So, I think Serie A is definitely a lot more deserving of global recognition than it usually gets, I think.
Garrett in my chat here said he wishes he saw Serie A in the 90s, and I think we're getting close to seeing Serie A in the 90s again. And you look at a lot of the talent that's there. You look at a lot of the players that are wanting to go there.
Yeah.
You look at the surge of English players that want to go to Serie A.
Yeah.
I mean, to my point earlier, I think it's the second best league in the world right now.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, look at Roma's turned into Little England.
Chris Smalling and Tammy Abraham.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think Roma's doing the right thing. I think Mourinho's obviously a phenomenal manager. Everybody knew he was a phenomenal manager. Everybody was asking the question how long it would take him to get his first trophy.
I got to do this. Okay, I just played the Jose Mourinho soundbite from my soundboard. Anyways, continue.
Okay. Everyone was wondering when Jose Mourinho would win his first trophy. It took him a year. Didn't they finish like 5th in the table or something like that?
Yeah. By the way, Mourinho got his the trophy tattooed on him as well. If you guys haven't seen it, please check it out.
What was their position in the table last year?
I didn't play for you guys. Oh damn. Okay, sorry guys. Oh right, because this is my podcast screen. Here, I have to do this for the boys now. Just 1 second.
I am Jose Mourinho.
There we go. I think it worked there. Thanks for letting me know, guys. But yeah, I think they finished. I think it was 5th in Serie A last year. Serie A table. It had to be. It had to.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's turned that team into. That website's not available in my country apparently. That's.
They finished. No, they finished 7th. Oh wow. Okay, they finished 7th. So it was Inter. No, that's 2021. Never mind. I'm literally losing my mind here. They finished 6th, below Lazio by 1 point last year. So Milan won the league, and then it was Inter 2 points behind them. Napoli on 79, which Ali said in chat too here. For a long time last season, Napoli were actually first until Osimhen's injury, and then they fell off. Gavin said actually Napoli were in the race until week 24, 25-ish. But yeah, Napoli finished 3rd. Juventus finished 4th, whopping 9 points behind Napoli actually. And then it was Lazio on 6 points behind Juventus, and then a Roma in 6th, 1 point behind Lazio.
Yeah, I mean it's that goes to our point where look at the table. You got Roma who are winning European trophies, and they're 6th in that table. So I think it's a really solid league, and I think it needs to be respected a little bit more. If you look at a lot of the teams and the quality that they have, I mean, we also got to touch base on what AC Milan have done with their retirement squad of Giroud.
Olivier Giroud is goated. I'm telling you, he is about that life.
It's a league that deserves a lot more respect, and I think that I don't think English fans. I'm coming for your head here, so duck. I don't think English fans are going to respect Serie A until Serie A wins the Champions League, and I think it's going to happen. I would put my money on a Serie A team winning Champions League before Man City does.
Early hot take. Let's go. I need a hot take soundboard, man.
I think Inter Milan are going to be a contender in the Champions League this year.
I mean, they do have the best striker in the world, Romelu Lukaku.
I think they're going to be. I mean, they're so young too, dude. Like their back line. The only thing I think is a struggle for them is that 5-back that they do.
Yeah.
But they're getting younger.
Yeah.
They're bringing in experience. Like that team is going to be scary, man. And I wish people would put respect on Inter Milan's name. But I tell you, man, I think they get it before Man City does. Somebody from Serie A does. I just don't know who. But
that's amazing. Man. I love that take. Just want to look at comments here. Spencer says, I watched a decent amount of Serie A because of Paramount Plus. Shout out to Paramount Plus. Definitely enjoyed it. Even the relegation...
Sponsor the podcast.
Hashtag please sponsor us. Even the relegation battle lasted until the last match week. Yeah, exactly, man.
Exactly,
you exactly summing it up. And
here's the thing.
Go ahead, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you just a second. Here's how deep Italy is Serie A teams that get relegated to Serie B are not guaranteed they're getting back to next season. Some teams will go down to Serie B and they will struggle. And then you'll see teams that come up from Serie A or from Serie B, they'll stay for a couple of years. Like that league, that country is deep. 100%. And like, so Venezia were put on.
They still missed out on the World Cup. I'm sorry, guys. I had to do it. It's out of my system now. It's done. No hate. Any Italians, please don't show up outside my doorstep in your seats, but please.
But where did they win the Euros?
Yeah.
Rip that Band-Aid off. But I mean, that's
yeah.
It's a nation. I think it's a league, and we can move on after this. But I think it's a league and a nation that gets memed on a ton, but it deserves the respect that they're going to earn it one way or the other. And that's 100%. The thing about Serie A teams is you can talk about them all you want, but at the end of the day, they care about the result, and that's 100%.
100%. So. I'm a full advocate of Serie A. I watched a lot of Serie A 2 seasons ago, not as much last season, but for sure, very, very, very exciting league.
If you're an English fan, and again, hashtag sponsor us, Paramount Plus. If you're an English fan, get your Paramount Plus subscription, because getting up and getting to watch Serie A or staying up or whatever. I forget how the time change works. For me, it's getting up earlier because I have to watch Serie A. But for you guys, watching Serie A on the day before you get to watch your Premier League games or your Championship games or whatever, if you want to watch good football, it's there.
Dazzer in chat says, I'm following you now, Mykal. Euros joke uncalled for.
But the World Cup joke was okay, sure. Okay.
Gavin says, I think last thing we're going to touch on this, because chat's been beautifully active as always on both ends. Thank you guys so much. Garn, we see you, by the way, on Michael's chat. Very much appreciate your input. Gavin says, Fiorentina were perennial contenders for European football before David Astori's death. Understandably struggled quite a bit after that until pipping Atalanta last season. Yeah. Exactly, man. It's such a rich league in terms of history, in terms of stature, and I strongly urge those who don't keep up with the Serie A to jump in this coming season, man. I'm so excited. Yeah. We're like a week or two away from football, man. I've missed it so much. It's been such a good summer.
We're supposed to be watching the World Cup right now.
Exactly, and that's a story for another day, which we will definitely do a World Cup episode, because we both have a lot to say on the World Cup. But I just can't wait to get in, man. I'm gonna try to take in as much football as I physically, possibly, humanly can this summer or this year. And
well, I think you to our point earlier when we were talking about Juve, I think Juve are going through the struggle that Atlanta went through and are going through, where they're kind of aging out. They lost Papa Gomez. They lost they're losing Muriel eventually. Those players are starting to age out, and they're gonna have to go through that kind of weird rebuild period. But the only difference is Juve has a little bit deeper pockets. So
100%.
I think whoever shouted out in your chat, Atalanta, that was a good shout, because
that was a good shout.
They were a team that were pushing. They were in the Champions League 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And so now that they're down in 6th, you can kind of see how that rebuild and rework process goes. But to still be competitive, I think is a huge shout. So
100%. And I'm gonna end with these two beautiful comments from chat. Spencer says, big plus to Italy for their national anthem too. One of the most patriotic national anthems you can find.
True.
They're just screaming it across all levels of football, men's, women's, youth, everything. And
I saw a video of a 4-year-old at the Euros, and he's like, singing that national anthem.
like me when Mykal plays the Canadian national anthem on stream. But the final comment I want to leave up on this topic, Dazzer says, Italy offers the world nothing but pizza and pasta, and no, I'm not still salty about the Euros. There we go. Thank you, Dazzer. All right, moving on. Great topic, guys. We are going to move on to actually speaking about all levels of football. We just touched on it. We wanted to talk a little bit about women's football. For those of you that live in the UK are obviously looking forward to the huge women's Euro final coming up. The 3 Lionesses have made it to the finals, and I believe they're playing against...
And smashed it. They've smashed it on the way to the Euro final, by the way.
Playing against Germany. That is Sunday, the 31st of July, guys. Please make sure you tune in and support these wonderful athletes. I'm not going to say women or like they're just great athletes. Dazzer saying he's screaming it's coming home in chat here on Twitch. But
I was just about to say until England bottles another Euro
hey,
on
let's
home
see.
soil.
We'll find out. We'll find out on the 31st. Dazzer says Russo has more talent than Werner. See, this is what I'm trying to say. The fact that Dazzer says something like that is exactly what is like so awesome, that this is a conversation that people are having. People are paying attention to the women's side of things.
Mhm.
You know, Sam Kerr, shout out to the Chelsea women's and what they do, but Sam Kerr is part co-cover athlete along with Kylian Mbappe. You know, and I think what we want to touch on from this is I think we all have seen that wonderful clip of Ian Wright talking on Twitter during his coverage about like, I hope that this is just the beginning. Like Mykal said, a beautiful your whatever punchline, whatever you want to call it. You said, I hope this isn't just a spark in the pan or something. You said something along those lines.
Flash in the pan,
There you go. See, I'm Canadian. I say things a little different, but you know, I think the main thing that we want to touch on, not so much the Euros, because like I will admit, like Gavin says, haven't paid much attention, but he says he doesn't watch football that much. For me, it's just been a really busy week, so I haven't had a chance to, but I've seen it blowing up everywhere, and I think this is so important for the game, is to have this continued conversation about women's football, and you know, hopefully there is more attention paid to this over the coming years, because I think it is such an untapped area of the game. And
It is.
You know, for the longest time as a Canadian, the Canadian women's, and you will know this, Mykal, the Canadian women's national team was the pride of our country in terms of international football and soccer teams.
True.
You know, it's now
Shout
that
out to Christine Sinclair, by the way, the number one goal scorer in the world.
And she plays for Portland.
Not just for women's.
Ever.
Yep.
And she plays for Portland and has for a long time. But you know, it's just exactly. I like it's refreshing. Like I said, the fact that Dazzer just made a joke saying Russo has more talent than Werner. When would we have ever compared, you know, or even brought those jokes up? Like it's really refreshing to see. I want to get your thoughts on that, Mykal. Like what is the future for women's football, and how do you see it?
I think it's the biggest it's ever been, and I think it's trending up. I think it's time to start buying stock in women's football, and it's about time. I think so. For the longest time, Team USA dominated, and that was because, to your point, they were one of the teams that were playing. That was basically it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you go back and look at a lot of the Team USA wins, like they're not really playing, you know, the top tier teams. You know, it's like watching Real Madrid play, you know, Leeds kind of thing. You know, it's like and it's an expected win, but it's still a good game. So I think the Euros, this past World Cup for the women's game was huge. It had immense viewership. I think the least watched game was still more viewers than the Super Bowl.
Barcelona women's sold out the Camp Nou 100% for their Champions League run this past season.
Well, we had 2 years ago, last year, the Challenge Cup, the Women's Challenge Cup here in Portland, where the Portland Thorns, who are regarded as the most successful women's team in the United States, club level women's team in the United States, and for a while was regarded such as the world, selfless brag, hashtag Portland Thorns, hashtag BTFC. Anyways, we hosted a tournament against Lyonnais from France, Barcelona, and I think it was Chelsea. It was either Chelsea or Man City's women's team, and the Portland Thorns won, of course, because you know hashtag PTFC.
Christian
but
Sinclair.
It was massive. Like I did not expect the turnout. Game in. Like it was every single game was attendance of World Cup quality.
100%.
It was phenomenal, and it was amazing to see. And as a father of 2 girls, one of which is old enough who decides that she wants to play football, I cannot appreciate the fact that I have a team in my backyard right now who are hosting and have playing for them some of the best, including the best woman footballer probably to ever play the game. Yeah. So I think it's time that a lot of
put some respect on their name.
I think it's time that a lot of women are realizing that this is something that they can do. I think
100%.
To be fair, I think it's a sport that women can finally play and make a living wage off of, which is annoying that we have to say that, but it's a contender, you know? So I think we have a lot a lot of European markets are investing into their teams, which is
100%.
phenomenal. I just hope that
Wolfsburg,
Barcelona's team
Lyon,
doesn't go under
Barcelona. Yeah,
because,
yeah, yeah.
but um, the clip that sticks out in my head recently was, I forget her name, and I feel so bad for forgetting her name because of the topic that we're on. But she left Barcelona to go to Pumas in Mexico.
Yeah.
And her revealing sold out their stadium.
Mm-hmm.
They sold out the men's stadium of like 60 something thousand people for her reveal, which that shows you that this game is serious, not just in the big markets, but like down in Mexico, they're starting to take it serious. It's a big thing. I think it's the next deal. And shout out to FIFA, by the way. FIFA 23 this year is going to have it's not Russo. Is it Russo on the cover?
No, it's Sam Kerr from Chelsea.
Sam Kerr.
Yes.
Kerr is on the cover with
Chelsea.
Mbappe, which doesn't deserve it. But they're also going to have all the women's league available to play this year. I think they did well last year with getting like the international teams in there, and you could play that. I think that was cool. But now that they're going to have the leagues, I think it draws more attention to that. I think it's a good plug for FIFA because you're going to get more women involved in their game. So EA is smart on that side, but it also is, you're now opening up that door to however many more people, however many more kids that want to play this game now, because, you know, I don't think we're far off from seeing the first girl who's like, yeah, I grew up playing FIFA and I wanted to play professional football.
100%.
Which is amazing. I think it's amazing.
Really promising. And
what's your take?
Fully agree. I just want to touch on this before we move on. Ali had a really interesting take in chat. So he says the U.S. women's national team dominated because soccer was perceived in the U.S. as a girls' game because only men played the other sports. That's my half-baked theory. And I can see exactly where you're coming from with that, you know? And I don't live in the States, obviously, so I'm not sure. But, you know, I can see that. And I think that's where it's important now, because it's like we're doing this because we believe the women can and are good enough. Comes back to Dazer having an interesting question. He said, I have a question for you guys. In what league would you have put the English women's national team? In what league would you have to put the English women's national team in for them to avoid relegation? I think that becomes, you know, it becomes a little...
What was that question?
So, like, basically, if you had to take the English women's national team and have them avoid relegation in one of the men's professional leagues that we know right now, what level do we think they would have to play at to avoid relegation? I don't think you can make that comparison because, you know, there's that Pierce, was it Pierce Morgan, that clip where he's like, in other news, the female professional team was beaten by a bunch of 15-year-old boys. And it's like, that is such a disrespectful thing to say.
It's
like,
a step back.
I don't exactly. So if I tried to draw, right, or something, a craft or an art that I maybe not be the, you know, as like genuinely gifted at or whatever. I'm not saying that women aren't as gifted as male athletes, and this is a very tricky topic to navigate. But what I'm trying to say is you can't compare the two because it's a completely different context. It's like if someone's been welding their entire life and generationally has been a welder and just have a knack for welding, if I go try to out-weld them, you can't compare our works. I may be able to weld in my own right, but I'm never going to put myself on the same level as someone that just has a natural inclination for it. I'm not saying that men have more of an inclination than women, but I'm just saying that I don't think you can compare the two.
I think it's not a comparison that I would want to make for many reasons. Like you said, it's disrespectful, I think, to the women's game. I think they've fought hard to be where they are.
100%.
I don't think the question is disrespectful. I just don't think that.
No. Yeah. By the way, Dazer, no, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about if I say anything about it.
If you watch the games too, and like I said, I've been privy to being able to go to a lot of Portland Thorns games and to soak in some of those experience. It's a different game. The pace is a lot higher, I would say, which a lot of people don't think. A lot of people think that the pace is going to be slower. In the women's game, the pace is a lot higher, and you have a lot more open space. It's a very wide open game.
It is.
I mean, you look, England beat Sweden 4-0. You have a lot of four goal games. Sweden beat Portugal 5-0. 5-0 England over Northern Ireland. Like, there's a lot of big games on these big stages. Like, it's a very open and expansive game. Yeah. And the crazy thing is the quality doesn't suffer. A lot of people, I hear this argument where it's like, I don't want to go watch the women's game because it's not the same quality. It's like, these women are just as crafty. They're just as talented. They deserve to be on that field for a damn reason.
It's just a
You know,
bias that it's the easy route to take. Ali said too earlier in chat. I went over his message. I didn't read it, but he said that scoreline, like you just mentioned, Mykal, is literally stunning, way more than people understandably realize.
Mhm.
Also, Spencer said under Wiegman, England has scored like 100 goals and conceded 20. Like that's dominance, you know. Like it's
Yeah.
there's
Well, you're also seeing these big managers going to coach these women's teams now.
100%.
You know, like it's because
John
there
Herdman
is
for
value into it.
the former women's coach for like is now coaching the men's national team. Like
Mhm.
there's a lot of I think huge potential, and already we're seeing a lot of success. I was fortunate enough in 2015 to watch the Women's World Cup because it was in Edmonton. There were some games in Edmonton.
Mhm.
I had a
Yep.
blast. I had a great time.
Yeah.
I didn't sit there thinking, oh, these are women, I wish I literally had a lot of fun because I went with an open mind. I think, like I said, and this touches on my personal opinions, and I don't want to deviate too much, but I hate gatekeeping. I hate elitism.
Mhm.
I hate trying to say
Yes.
that, oh, you can't do this because, like, it's just about the sport. We all love football. At the end of the day, we should be happy
Yes.
that there are more people getting involved. We should enjoy the fact that there's genuine interest because at the end of the day, we're just going to end up killing the sport from the inside if we try to keep it like some secret society that only certain people who fit certain criteria can play, you know? So that's my 2 cents. Anyways.
I think the women's league right now is suffering from the culture of social media. If I'm being honest,
That's it, man.
I
You'll
think
see a TikTok of a woman's goal and it'll be like, goalie could have done better, TBH.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
the shot was great.
um, I think that, like to your point, it's a lot of gatekeeping. I think it's a lot of the younger generation. Um, I think, I mean, you're a father as well.
Yeah.
Granted, you have a son, but you
Yeah.
know, you wouldn't want your son disrespecting that. I wouldn't want my girls.
Even Michelle,
yeah,
like my partner in life, like she sometimes is like, oh, I'm a girl, what do I know about soccer or football or whatever? And it's sad that females have to think that way, that they can't just sit down with their guy friends and talk because every guy friend's gonna be like, what do you know, CR7 goated, hee see, you know what I mean? Like, not saying, but like I'm just saying we have to create a safe space for everyone, like, you know, I don't know.
yeah.
That's
I
my
think
2 cents.
I think the game is growing though. I think it's a great thing. I mean, I watched I watched one game. I lied to you earlier when we were talking. I did watch one game.
How dare you lie.
Unfortunately, the Euros are being played during while I'm at work, so I don't get to watch as many games as I would want to. But the
Yep.
one game that I did watch was the Netherlands game when they beat the crap out of Switzerland.
Yeah.
That's because Mark Parsons, their Netherlands head coach, was the head coach for the Portland Thorns when they were winning back-to-back championships. Hashtag selfless plug. But it's fun to watch.
We
how
need
this
to have a
game's
Portland
developing.
Thorns counter on screen for Mykal, but yeah.
I know. Should I go get? I have a kit somewhere.
Oh,
you
I
know what
believe
mean?
you. I believe you.
And it's
I mean,
one of the
just
most
look behind
beautiful
Mykal for
kits.
those of you that haven't even taken in what the beauty of the
Yeah.
background going on, but yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
it's one of the most beautiful kits in the world too. Like, but the game's growing, and I'm excited for it. I'm here for it. Honestly,
I'm here for it too.
I hope
100%.
more teams. I hope more teams get. We're seeing big markets get big teams here stateside. For those of you who don't follow up with women's football or United States football, we have a team now in LA. We got another team down in, I think it's San Diego. Like, there's teams popping up in the United States left and right with this women's league. You know, meanwhile we're at risk of losing teams in the MLS and the men's league because of attendance. The women's teams are doing that much better. So it's a huge deal, and I hope it keeps going. I love to see the big market teams like Barcelona, the Lyonnais, the Man Cities, the PSGs. I love these big teams getting involved. I hope it keeps going down. So I hope we get a Nottingham Forest women's team. I hope we get a Leeds team. I hope every city that has a men's team has a women's team.
Yeah,
you know, by 2030, I think that'd be amazing. But I definitely think, to your point, they're still in the gatekeeping era of the league and of the sport, which sucks for those of us who do appreciate football. And I think it just kind of it's going to struggle with the toxicity that the sport has. But I'm nothing but positive, nothing but hopeful that they'll continue to grow, and I'm excited.
100%. I think, you know, the Women's Euros was a great starting point to get the entire globe talking in a summer. Like we said, we'll talk about this in another episode, but in a summer where we were deprived of the World Cup, you know, people craving football. I'm just glad that a lot of people put time into watching the women's sport. And I think, you know, what we do from here is what's going to define it. And yes, Grabby, I see your comment about the MLS. Great point. But we will be doing a dedicated North American episode at some point because obviously Canada, for me, US for Mykal will be talking about a lot of the North American stuff on its own podcast. So great point. Mike, yes, I've been having issues. So when Mykal and I
No,
are on Discord,
I think
sometimes the mic gets kind of weird.
I think it's Discord. I think
so
everybody else
too.
hears you fine. I think it's just me.
But yeah,
which I can make do.
If anyone has any issues hearing me, please let me know. But I think it's just Discord being Discord, which obviously Discord is great and we can do this. But
I think so. Garen, before we move on to the next subject, Garen brings up a good point here that all the women's league needs, no matter where they're playing, is the big TV contract. I know the NWSL, the team here in the States, is streaming on Twitch.
Wow, that's huge.
They're streaming a lot of their games on Twitch. And I think that, to his point, I think that is a big component. Is I think they need more airtime. I think they need more time in front of the big audiences. I don't know how it is in terms of European teams, whether they're on the TV as much, but I think the league here is going to continue to grow as they get their big deal. I think they're going on Apple TV, same with MLS soon.
So in Canada, where I used to watch my Premier League football, which by the way is changing next year because of the licensing, whatever. But DAZN, DAZN, whatever. They showed all the women's Champions League matches, and I tried to watch when I could. It was a lot of coverage, and so I think we're in the right shape, in the right state. And I think we can only move on upwards from here. I just hope it doesn't get forgotten, and this momentum that we've seen with the women's game continues onwards and upwards on a global and a local scale. Channel name DAZN, I'm just putting that in there, DAZN. Okay, anything else you want to add on that, or can we move on to our next topic?
Well, there's also the controversy of the women's league. I mean, here locally that we went through. I mean, we kind of touched base on that if you want to deep dive into that, but that's a mess. I mean, it kind of bowls into our point though, where unfortunately the women's league is also going to be hindered always by the toxicity of men in general. Here in Portland we had the whole controversy with letting a coach walk, even though he was accused of some sexual misconduct kind of things, and then he ended up going to another club and he committed actual sexual assault basically there. We have general managers who were also hushing up other sexual assault cases. We have general managers who were telling players, not all of this is here in Portland, by the way. Portland Thorns, don't come after me, but they have general managers who are covering up players or telling players that they couldn't come out as gay because it would distract the team or take focus off the team. So I think there's a lot that could cover it up. You know what I mean? Like, I think that we all have to buy in order for it to continue to succeed. So
100%.
Which also means protecting the women too, the same way we would protect the man that is playing.
Exactly. Shout out to Spencer. Guys, the Twitch channel that broadcasts those games, like Mykal said, for the women's league, I think is the NWSL official. So NWSL official on Twitch. Thank you, Spencer, for that. If anyone wants to ever check that out, please go ahead and do that. Okay, good stuff, guys. We just have, I think we're at the hour and a half mark. Usually we try to go around 2 hours, so we have just a couple other topics that we want to talk about here. So I think something that we haven't touched on, we've talked about basically all the leagues, and there's one league that we haven't spent a lot of time in, and that is a league that Mykal has an affinity for as well, with being the Bundesliga. So of course Mykal is of German heritage, I will say, and thank you, Grabby linked exactly. So in Twitch here, there's the link. Perfect. For those of you watching on YouTube, someone just linked the Twitch channel in chat. If you guys would like to be part of this conversation live, feel free to check out Mykal's and my Twitch when we do this every Thursday. But yeah, sorry. So the German league, the Bundesliga, we kind of want to touch on that. There's been some really good movement with some of the teams in terms of their transfer activity. And the one that we wanted to highlight is Dortmund. They've had 10 arrivals. They did their business early. So a lot of people have kind of forgotten what, obviously the blockbuster of the summer, which wasn't a blockbuster at all, but Erling Haaland has left Dortmund. So what did they do to make up for that? I'll kind of list a few of the players they got, and then we'll get Mykal's thoughts on it, because it is a league that he is, I would say, more familiar with than I am. Adeyemi, 30 million from Salzburg, 20 years old. These are all in euros. Schlotterbeck from Freiburg, 22. Salih Özcan, the Turkish from Köln, 24 years old. Nicholas Soulé is in from Bayern Munich. A couple of goalies, a few youth players, but Sebastian Aller from Ajax, man. 31 million, by the way. Great to hear that Sebastian Haller has had his testicular tumor removed. They found that a week or so ago. So that was a bit of a scare for him, but phenomenal news that he got that removed, and best wishes to him from both Mykal and us and everyone. If anyone is a male that hasn't been checked recently, please go do that, because testicular cancer is a real thing. But yeah, great window for them, man. They've spent, what is this, like, let me get the full number here in euros. So they've spent 112... No, sorry. They've spent 86 million euros on the players I just mentioned, and I think they've improved all across the world, all across the squad. Mykal, what are your thoughts on Dortmund's squad? Are they potentially going to be contenders in Germany now, even though they've lost arguably the biggest name they've had, and Sancho left as well? They still have Bellingham, and they've had a great window. So where does that leave Dortmund?
I think they're contenders, honestly. I mean, if we look at who they've brought in, they still have Bellingham, they still have Marco Reus is still playing there.
Thorgan Hazard, Gio Reyna,
the Hazard brothers are there. I think they brought in Sule, by the way, on a free from Bayern. I think they're phenomenal. I don't see them overthrowing Bayern unless Bayern can't figure out what to do up top, which is possible. However, Haller, like, up top for them is massive. I don't know if he's going to be able to play. We don't really know the extent of how long he's going to be out. He had a successful surgery a day after finding out he was...
he had the tumor.
He was suffering. So, Adeyemi, a 20-year-old, all of our FIFA and FM friends are going to go, Adeyemi, future Mbappe superstar.
Sign Adeyemi.
Yes, he's performed well, but in what league has he performed well in? So I think it makes sense because he is a German national. So I don't know if I agree with the $33 million price tag for him quite yet.
And he hits a mean gritty, by the way.
Yeah. But they brought in Haller, they brought in Adeyemi. They still, though, have what's his name that they signed last year? The Dutch striker. I'm trying. Why all of a sudden is his name Malen?
Oh, Daniel Malen. Yeah. He's great. I like him a lot.
But he had a terrible season.
He did. Will we see a better season this year with him? He's someone. Yeah.
I don't think if I remember right, I saw some stat where it said he didn't score more than 1 goal a game for them in the first season. I think he never got a brace for him. So.
By the way, shout out to Ultra in here. If he's still in here, Roman Burki was one departure, their goalkeeper, and he's playing in Ultra's home team, the St. Louis City team in the States.
Will be playing next year.
But yeah, shout out to Ultra.
I don't know if they lost Zagadou on a free. He still hasn't signed anywhere, by the way, which is mental to me.
Yeah, he's 23, man.
They lost Rainier's going back to Real Madrid. He was a phenomenal piece in the midfield for him. So
Schmelzer retires,
gone.
Long time leader Schmelzer.
Yep. Witzel, by the way, going to Atletico Madrid is a deal that doesn't get talked about enough. Atletico Madrid signed a really good player on a free transfer there. So that's going to be amazing. They lost their keeper. Roman Burki, by the way, was a phenomenal keeper for him.
Yeah. Only 31 still, by the way.
Yeah, which is an infant in keeper years. So it's hard for me to say that they're contenders right now because Bayern still has a god squad outside of having Lewandowski. So Bayern to me are like, I don't remember if you guys ever remember the Hercules movie, the Disney one, where he's chopping the head off of that Hydra like over and over and over again. And it's growing back. That's what I compare Bayern to. You chopped off Lewandowski's head, theoretically, or figuratively, excuse me. But, it's growing back with Mane. It's growing back with Gravenberch, So I don't think that they're going to overtake Bayern. I don't think anybody is going to overtake Bayern right now. But Dortmund are definitely probably a second-place team right now.
Yeah.
If Haller is able to play. If not, they're stuck with Adeyemi and Daniel Malen, excuse me. I think they're probably 4th or 5th. So...
Yep.
But they're also defensively a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Mm-hmm.
one of the weak points for them last year was conceding a lot of goals. Akanji was a weak point. Monir was old and was on his way out. So they brought in Slaughterbeck and Sule, who
Mm-hmm.
both had phenomenal seasons last year.
Familiar with the league.
So, I mean,
And their
it's hard.
manager, I think their manager too is a big kind of a, not an unknown, but I mean, Edith Terzic, she's only 39 years old. Decent
Hmm.
enough record while he was their caretaker. So out of 32 matches played, he won 20 of them, drew 4 and lost 8. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what he does in a full season at Dortmund, and with a team that a team that we are going to see a different style from, because they don't have that one guy that is going to get them all their goals. Not saying that he was the only guy
Hmm.
that got their goals, but now it's going to be more about the team and the unit, and exactly what we touched on earlier in this episode is how are they going to juggle that. So it's going to be
Yeah.
interesting to see.
Well, the Bundesliga as a whole next year is going to be, I think, topsy turvy.
Mm.
Bayern are in uncertain waters. I mean, the coach is still there. A lot of the key pieces are still there. It's going to be a new defensive partnership with Upamecano and Delict, so you have to worry about that. It's Neuer's swan song. He's basically said that this is his last season. Last year was supposed to be his last season, but he wants this year to be his last season. A lot of people think Muller's on his way out as well. Um, so it's kind of an interesting season for them if they can wrap their heads around. I think they're still a lock for first place, but Leipzig are pushing up the
Mm-hmm.
table.
Mm-hmm.
They managed to keep in Cuckoo.
And Kunku.
Um, they they boasted their team pretty heavily as well. So there's not a lot of moves in the Bundesliga right now that really make me go, "Holy smokes, this is really what, like, you know what I mean?"
Yeah,
But Dortmund's was one that blew me away with some of the players that they brought in.
I
I
think they
just
had a
don't
phenomenal
know.
window. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know if we're gonna see them overtake first place yet. I think it's gonna be a closer race,
Yeah.
but I think Bayern's still too powerful.
I agree with that. I think Bayern is the team to beat, has been the team to beat, and will be the team to beat for the foreseeable future. Um,
Hmm.
and Dazer in chat here on Twitch says that Lewandowski will be one of those players who are impossible to replace. Grabby counters with, definitely he had a certain class and professionalism for the game not many have. I think, however, he
True.
won't excel at Barcelona for some reason. But yeah, it's going to be a new look Bayern. I mean, Lewandowski would.
Um, Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's fine if you want, because I know this is a team that you know a lot about, so I want you.
I'd say I don't think Lewandowski's going to struggle at Barcelona. I don't think he's going to get the same amount of goals, and that's just because the way Bayern was structured was he is the finisher. So even though you would see Gnabry and Coman and Sane score goals every now and then with decent shots, a lot of it was set up for to be on the head of Lewandowski. So I don't know if he's going to score 30 goals a season like he would if he was in a Bayern shirt anymore, but I still would pick him to score 20 for a season.
Yeah.
Um, the Especially because he's not going to have to deal with the snow with Bayern in the middle of the year. But Dortmund, I mean, like I said, they had a great season. I mean, or a great transfer window. And again, I get back to what's going to happen in December. I
Yeah.
mean, all these players that are going to go to these big teams. The Bundesliga is one of those leagues where the big teams are going to have a lot of big players going to play in the World Cup. Whereas you look at maybe the Freiburgs, the Wolfsburgs, the Frankfurts. They may not have as many players going off.
Mm-hmm.
So it it's really hard for me to predict this league right now, other than saying Bayern's going to win it. And that's
Interesting.
not just being biased, just because of pedigree and stature currently. But if I'm being honest, I'd love to see a tighter challenge. I'd love to see a bigger race in terms of league. Um, but I mean the Pokal, the German Cup, if
This
you will.
German Super Cup, that's
Yeah.
coming up this weekend, and actually we were going to talk on that. So that's probably the first prediction we're really going to do, I guess, is each of us is going to say who we think is going to win. I'm going to put a poll up, by the way, as well. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be this. Actually, Mykal, if you could just tell us exactly what day that is, in case anyone wants to
Yeah.
watch. I think it's on the 31st. But basically, I'm going to put up a poll saying who will win the DFB.
It is Saturday, July 30th 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. So that would be, what is that? 1 in the afternoon standard UK time.
Yeah, so I've put the poll up here. Who will win the German Super Cup? It's between Leipzig and Bayern München.
Oh wait, no, it's 7 in the afternoon. I don't know where my head went. That's 7 in the afternoon standard UK time. I don't know what the hell that. Sorry, go ahead.
That's all good. But yeah, first official prediction of the season, I'm gonna go with, I think Bayern Munich will win the Super Cup. I think it's gonna hopefully be close. I think when you look at Leipzig, they haven't really, like, they brought in Schlager from Wolfsburg for 12 million, but other than that, it's just basically loanies who are returning. Tran Huang returns, Adamala Lukman returns from Leicester, Brian Brobby comes back from Ajax, and Alex Moriba, who joined them from Barcelona's youth system, or I guess first team, has returned from his loan at Valencia. But I mean, those are players who are 19, 20, 24, and 26. So I think with Leipzig, it's just so hard to say what the complete product is going to look like. Yes, they've kept Nkunku, but they haven't really done anything too crazy. There's rumors that Werner may go back on loan to Leipzig, but we'll see if he actually ends up doing that. I just don't think Leipzig will have enough to overcome Bayern Munich, and neither does Chat. Apparently, Bayern Munich is the consensus from the poll to win. Michael, your prediction for the Super Cup in Germany? Competitive football, it's back.
I would have to say that this one is going to extra time. I think it's going to be 1-1 extra time. I think Bayern takes it 3-1 in extra time, though.
Ooh, an actual specific prediction. You heard it here first. 3-1. If anyone wants to do a parlay or something, I'm just kidding. I don't endorse sports betting. Please don't come after me. But yeah,
please don't. Yeah,
no,
please don't.
I shouldn't. Yeah, but anyways,
keep your money.
Spencer, I don't sports bet, so please don't sports bet. Be good people. Use your head. I'm not saying sports bet. I'm just gonna shut up at this point. Spencer says, at this point, when I watch the Bundesliga, I ignore the number one spot. I don't think you're alone on that, Spencer. I think just the dominance that's been there for so long and continues to be. I think that's a pretty common sentiment. And then Dazer says, I think he's talking about Leipzig. They're linked with Rom from Hoffenheim. Yeah, I think, again, fairly quiet in terms of what they've done. We'll see who they are going to bring in.
True.
But
yeah. Also, I want to get rid of the stigma that the Bundesliga is a farmers league, because there's a difference. League One is a farmers league because it is.
Yeah.
Bundesliga
Liga in France, by the way. Anyone who watches the actual League One in England, please don't get offended.
League. Yeah. The Uber Eats league is a farmers league.
There we go. There we go. Yeah.
Bundesliga is a true league, and if you have any doubts about it, which league has won?
No, I'm kidding.
Which league has won a Champions League more recently? Just saying.
Drops mic, walks away.
Anyways, moving on. I have per Sky Germany, apparently, according to Garen here, Dortmund are also currently linked to Edin Dzeko of Inter Milan, Mauro Icardi of PSG, Krasnor's Cordoba, and Hertha's Piatek.
Nice one.
Yep. Those are all phenomenal strikers, but if they are actually linked to all of those, that tells me two things. One, they understand that if Sebastian Haller doesn't play, they're in trouble.
100%.
And two, they don't buy into the fact that Adeyemi is going to be good this year, and they know that Mullen's also not good enough for them this year as well, which is, I mean, who knows? I mean, loans for those players would make sense, but buying one of those players to me wouldn't make sense. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see one of those players on loan.
Spencer says League One more competitive than League A. Fact. Okay.
True.
I think that's a great point, and I think we will end the Germany section there. Excited for our first competitive matches, which are the Community Shield.
God, yes.
And
isn't there another one? Yeah, what's the other one?
Community Shield. So without going too much in detail, because I want to talk about the next topic that you brought up, which was great, and then we'll end with the open panel. But the Community Shield, Liverpool versus Manchester City, quick fire within like 30 seconds or a minute. I can go first and you can go second. So I think the final score will be probably, I think it'll be 2-1 Man City. I think it'll be a close game. I think both teams are going to feel each other out a lot. I don't think that it's going to be as explosive as people expect between the two teams. I think it's going to be a pretty tactical, like, assess what's going on type of situation. And I think it'll be a hard fought victory, but I think Manchester City will narrowly edge Liverpool 2-1 in the Champions League, in the Community Shield. Michael?
I say Liverpool wins 1-1 on penalties.
Ooh, penalties again. Okay, we've seen Liverpool go to penalty shootouts in the Carabao and the FA Cup painfully as a Chelsea fan last year, and they won both, so good shout. Dowser with a very specific prediction, by the way, here on Twitch says, I'm going 2-0 with Grealish scoring. A weird gut feeling. Interesting.
Huh?
Interesting.
With Grealish scoring.
Yes, apparently that is. I respect it. I respect it. Cool. Moving on. There's 2 more topics that we want to talk about. Sorry, Spencer said Allison is out, I think, but City wins regardless. Yeah, I think.
Fine.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on.
As long as they don't have Karius in goal.
Yeah, I'm curious. So we have about maybe around 10-ish minutes left here. If you guys want to, we have one more kind of thing one more subject we want to touch on, and then open panel for the last little bit. So if you guys have anything you guys want us to talk about, feel free to throw those in chat. Opinions or just anything in general, feel free to do that. Our final topic for today, which something Mykal came up with, is about Luis Suarez and how he's going back to Nacional in, I believe, is it Colombia? Is it Colombia? Is it the Colombian league that he started in? Or no, Uruguay, La Nacional. Where is that? I feel like it is in...
They are in...
I think Nacional is
Uruguayan Premier Division.
So he is going back, like literally going back home where he started. And this is something Mykal was curious about is, what are some other players you'd be happy to see return home? And while we're on this topic, I found something that was very, very much deserving of attention here. And it wouldn't be a podcast without some mention of Manchester United or Cristiano Ronaldo. Which was obviously okay. I shouldn't even do that. Anyways, so he went back home. He did the he's coming back to Manchester United, and it was supposed to be the fairy tale kind of ending to his career where he went back to United and got them out of the slump, and it didn't quite work out. And this is just a side note. This has nothing to do with players you want to see going back home, but it was just interesting for me and something to think about is Ronaldo's without a club here. And I saw something really interesting with Atletico Madrid being rumored to be in for him. And I just want to show you guys this. So I'm just going to go to my normal view here. But during a preseason friendly, the Atletico Madrid fans had a very visible disdain, or, they were very opposed to Ronaldo joining them. And so you think, why? Is it because he played at Real Madrid or whatever? No, it's actually very interesting. They drew kind of a moral high ground or a moral line where they said that the aforementioned player, obviously Ronaldo, represents the antithesis, the complete opposite, basically, of the values that constitute the hallmarks of our club, such as the effort, generosity, modesty, and humility of those who want to defend our values. Basically saying, even in the unlikely event that a player in steep decline, by the way, shots fired, which I don't fully agree with, such as Cristiano Ronaldo, could guarantee us a trophy, we will not accept his signing. And what question that brought up to me was, as football fans, are we the types to be like, you know what, if you help my club, I want you on my team no matter what? Or do we kind of have like a moral thing where we're like, you don't fit the way that I believe my club should play. I don't want you here, even if it means you change our club around. Not saying he would for Atletico, but that, you would make an immediate impact. So something to think about, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys say. But that's just a side note. The main thing is we wanted to ask you guys too, what players are there like Luis Suarez who are heading home for hopefully a fairy tale ending that you would like to see return home? Mykal, if there's anyone specific that you have in mind for that, feel free to share that. If there's anyone in chat, feel free to share that as well.
Players I'd like to see come home. It's funny that I was the one that kind of mentioned this topic, and it's a struggle for me to really think of one.
That's fine.
I would love to see.
Like, do you want Messi to go back to Barcelona to have his happy?
I don't give it. No, I don't care about that. That guy made his decision.
Yeah, because someone mentioned that last time too in our thing, and I was like, I don't really think. Yeah.
I would love to see Oscar go back to Chelsea.
I would love that too.
I think that'd be really, really cool.
Hazard.
The one that
Hazard,
I would
Oscar. sorry, I have to.
The one that really sticks out to me though is I would love to see Lewandowski end up back at Dortmund. Especially
Royce
if Marco Royce is still there. They go off into the distance together. I think that one would be poetic.
Bro, I actually got chills. I got chills thinking about that.
Imagine the Barca deal falls through after this year or something like that, and then Lewandowski either gets loaned or just goes back to Dortmund, and Royce hangs up his boots right next to Lewandowski's. I think that'd be pretty cool. I also think Dortmund fans would actually welcome him back with open arms.
100%. Just talking about in chat here. So Mo Salah can go back to Egypt if he doesn't want to play him opening day, Dazzler says. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to go back to Egypt just yet, my friend. Gavin says Ronaldo back to Sporting would be nice. Exactly. That's been rumored now because it's like, where does Ronaldo end up, you know? So I'm not sure. Dazzler says Cess back to Fulham. And yeah, those are all great shouts. For me, I think, yeah, Oscar's one. We talked about this in the first podcast. I feel like we did, but maybe we didn't. Oscar left at a very odd time. I mean, he was, I would argue, at the prime of his career, and he was one of the few that is really the China meme of going to China for the money. And he said openly that he would love to come back. Anderson Talisca as well. So, you know, I think Oscar would be a great shout for me. Obviously, the massacre midfield that we used to have, Mata, Hazard, and Oscar was phenomenal. So I agree.
Yeah. I think bringing Nangolan back to Roma would be really cool.
Oh, phenomenal. The Mohawk himself. Oscar left for $1 billion.
Is there really anybody else that makes sense though? Right now, in today's world of football, is there any really big names that you want to see come home?
Not
like
really.
Home is in like their first team or
Cavani
where
to
they
Napoli. Ooh, Gavin, Cavani to Napoli. So actually, that is probably the best one. Honestly, Cavani and Lavezzi at Napoli together was my favorite Napoli to watch, and I think that is phenomenal. I think that is probably the best shout. Other than the Lewandowski going back to Dortmund with Royce, I think Cavani to Napoli is because Osimhen, we don't know what's going on. Can he stay healthy? Can he not? Cavani back would be amazing.
I mean, CR7 to Sporting, he said that he wanted to go back eventually.
His mom has been. Will he? Yeah.
He's also said that he won't rule out a partnership with Messi in the MLS, which God help me if that happens. No. That leads me into your question earlier. Is like, would you want a player who thinks they're bigger than the ethos of your club? And I don't think so. I think
I don't think so either.
We talked about this last time. It's funny that Mario.
Yeah.
It's funny that Icardi's name came back up because we talked about this, but like, I don't think I would want somebody like that on my club. Like, at the end of the day, if you're attached to these sexual assault cases, and that mysteriously disappear because you're one of the richest players in the world, I don't necessarily know if I want you at my club.
100%.
Like,
I agree.
Like, there has to be some sort of line drawn in the sand where it's like, if it's like, like a gambling problem, or you had like a drinking bender, or like you got a DUI or something like that, something that yes, those are serious offenses.
Yeah. There's a line though. Yeah. I agree.
I don't know. It's an interesting one though. I don't think so. I don't think if I was in that situation. Now, at what point though do you value the fact that it is Cristiano Ronaldo? You know what I mean? Like, does some of that stuff kind of go on deaf ears?
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree.
What do you think?
I think, at the end of the day, it's just such a subjective thing for me personally, and that's why I asked the question. It was very interesting to see like the adverse reaction that the Atleti fans had. There were no holds barred with what they said. In terms of him not fitting, like you said, the ethos or however you want to say it, that was the perfect way of saying it, is, those are fans that know what their club is worth to them, and they don't want to be associated with that. So for me personally, I agree. I think that even if you would instantly make Chelsea the best team in the world, if I don't agree with you as a person, from what I know of you at least, because I don't know any of these people personally or anything, but if I just don't like the way you've conducted yourself, I wouldn't really feel comfortable supporting you, or wanting you associated with my team.
I saw that Greenwood was linked to teams in Saudi and China, and I was like, it's crazy that somebody that has something like that is still even in consideration to play a professional sport again.
100%.
But what about my volume from you just went completely dead, by the way. Hold on.
Yeah.
It might be because my headset's dying. I don't know. But I'm going to say, what about, I'm going to ask you this in a second. I'm also probably going to hang up from the Discord call and see if that fixes it. But you can talk about this with chat in the meantime. I'm just filling time. You tell how good I am at filling time?
Yeah. Okay. I'll do this. So basically, we're going to just take a few comments here. Just give me 1 sec, Mykal. Actually, I'm going to put it in.
You're good. I can hear you. My question, though,
I was literally going to say
Kurt
something.
Zuma. Kurt Zuma.
Yeah.
That was the point I was getting to. But
Sorry,
Kurt
who?
Zuma,
Who?
do you want him on your team?
Never. Get out of here. Disgusting. Okay, here's the
He,
deal.
he admitted he was wrong.
No,
he
let's do the
admitted
rational.
he's going through the courses and stuff for it.
Here's the rational answer. Here's the rational answer. What he did was inexcusable. All you can ask for from that situation is for him to accept, admit, and rehabilitate himself. If he does all three of those things, like you said, I am a firm believer in everybody should not be like, you shouldn't hold people to their past or judge people or destroy people because of their past, as long as they show an awareness or willingness to improve themselves. People like Greenwood still disgust me because I don't know about you guys, but I haven't heard a peep from him about the situation. And it makes me very uncomfortable. Callum Hudson-Odoi, this is one that gets brushed under the rug a lot. As a Chelsea fan, I still don't know if I like the guy. What happened? He didn't say a word. Thomas Partey, we're not going to talk about this time until things get cleared up. You have these things. They're not saying anything. Basuma, same thing. So if you don't show me that you are someone who is willing to learn, I don't care that you made a mistake, but you need to show me that you are willing to learn from it, change yourself, and at that point, then I don't have anything against you if you show me that you can do it. We all make mistakes. No one's perfect. But I have a huge problem with people who get away with doing this stuff and just act like it never happened.
Yeah, I agree.
Given the platform they have, they reach millions of kids, adults, whatever. They reach millions of people. And a simple statement to stand up against something that they've done or say I was wrong. Sigurdsson, the biggest secret in the entire footballing thing, Gylfi Sigurdsson hasn't said a word. Yes, there's an active investigation. You can't say anything, okay. But for things like Callum Hudson-Odoi, where it was already settled and it's been done, you need to speak up and say that I was wrong and I messed up. And then I will probably not have a problem with it.
So would you welcome Kurt Zuma back to Chelsea?
Personally, no, because what he did was disgusting. As a father, him abusing that cat in front of his son, and the son being more aware that it was wrong than the adult. For me, I don't care if people feel like Kurt Zuma's been treated so harshly for just kicking a cat. Look at my screen if you guys haven't. Just kicking a cat, because I don't think it's just kicking a cat. That's psychotic behavior. But for the fact that he did it in front of his son, for me, was the game changer. No, never. I don't want him back. No, thank you.
Okay, fair enough.
Even though we need a center back and we're desperate. No, thank you.
But I thought you were going a completely different direction with that. Sorry. No, obviously, like you and I have the same stance on the sexual assault and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, we're not going to deep dive into that. But
Dazzler said, I've made some mistakes, but I've never considered volleying my cat. And I mean, as funny as it is, because you said it, Dazzler, 100%. Like there's just some things you just don't do,
But to your point, he has. I mean, I think it's different when it's talking about your club. Like to your point, like it's a personal thing. Like, would I want Kurt Zuma to come to Portland and play? No. Do I have a problem with him still playing professional football? No. He's owned up to his mistake.
That's the part that I missed. 100%.
He's rehabbed.
100%.
I don't want him representing my club.
100%.
But 100%. It's the same with like here locally in the MLS. There's a guy by the name, and
I'm just gonna say shout out to Michelle, who bought a Kurt Zuma jersey for her first jersey ever and was devastated when that happened.
Oh no.
Yeah. Anyways, continue.
Don't wear it. But
never has.
I'm gonna throw this guy under the bus completely. But Freddie Montero here in MLS was accused of cases of sexual assault and basically rape. I don't want to get into the details of the case, but he was accused of this. The league suspended him. The team suspended him. All of a sudden, I think it was like a couple weeks, almost a month goes by. The cases are dropped. Charges are dropped. Also, right around the same time where he was getting his bonuses paid out to him. Kind of interesting. And then all of a sudden, now he's reinstated back into the league. He gets back to his team. Then he ends up getting sold. Now he's playing for Seattle. So I already hate him because he's playing for Seattle. But now he's also got all this.
Just to add to the Mykal hatred, he plays for Seattle now.
He's also now got this. He still has this case going over his head.
Yeah.
I mean, when he comes to Portland and plays, we don't care about anything else. While he's walking on the field, we have Freddie Montero. No means no. Like, it's a meme for him.
Yeah.
I don't want to say meme because that takes away the sensitivity of the issue. But how are fans okay with you bringing in a player that is committed or done something like this? Even if it was just like, there's a point where I agree innocent until proven guilty. But at the same time, some allegations, like I honestly like if you're putting yourself in positions where you're getting allegations of this,
Multiple.
yeah, not just one. It's
And
one
for the
like
record, I just want to go on record here because this is a platform that may reach a few people. To anyone out there that says women try to ruin men and make these allegations up, you are the epitome of why
you're the
women do
problem.
not. You are the reason why women who suffer sexual assault and these kind of situations are afraid to speak up. These people single-handedly make it a world where women are afraid to speak up, and so many women who have absolute reason to speak up never do because of people
True.
like that. Sorry.
True. No, it's 100%. I don't know if I, like I said, and maybe it's because I'm more sensitive now as a father too, but I don't want anybody like that on my team.
100%.
I could never. I would lose complete respect for the club. And I'm in a situation right now dealing with the Portland Timbers where I haven't been to a game this season after I haven't missed a game for almost 7 years.
And I respect the hell out of that.
The only 2 games that I've missed in almost 7 years was when I got married and I was on honeymoon, and I watched the games in Mexico because go Timbers. But like, we had a player who was accused of domestic violence. They swept it under the rug. The season ends. His partner / wife goes back home to Peru, goes to the news and goes, "This is what happened. The team swept it under the rug, and now my team is pretending like it never happened. It was just accusations. It never happened. Blah blah blah." And so, I'm taking a standpoint that I can't support a club that endorses and tries to cover up the abuse of women. But there are teams and there are fans that, if it's not happening on the football field, I don't care. 100%. I care about what he does on the football field. I care about what the goals he puts in. I care about the trophies he brings home. 100%. I care about all that. But I don't understand where you draw the line in the sand, because at the end of the day, if you're supporting that club, your money is going to that player's wages.
100%. And I do want to touch on sorry, what Spencer said about Benzema, because I have spoken about how I do enjoy Karim Benzema as a striker. This is why I can't stand the fact that people are swooning over Benzema. I think the Benzema thing is very complicated, and we can talk about that sometime. What he did was wrong 100%, but that entire group of people that was involved in that whole thing, including Valbuena himself, the whole thing was dodgy from the jump. He should have handled it a lot better, but I would argue, and I'm not sticking up for Benzema in any way, it's a little different than some of the other stuff that we've been talking about, even though it was unforgivable. And I think that he should never have blackmailed or done all of those things. But I think it was, it's just, I don't think Benzema is the greatest human being at all. But like, I personally don't have a problem saying that he is a decent football player who I would watch versus someone like,
would you want him at Chelsea?
Karim Benzema?
Yeah.
It's tough. Like, I think just because of the rep that he's gotten from this whole thing, which at the end of the day, no one really knows. Like, there was a court case and everything, but at the end of the day, only those guys really know. I don't think I'd have a problem with Karim Benzema at Chelsea. I don't, because he acknowledged that it was wrong. He as far as I'm aware, he made peace with the people that he troubled with that whole situation. So no, I don't think so. But someone like Callum Hudson-Odoi, I still get this. He is a Chelsea player, and I'm supposed to love him, but I still get this weird feeling about him because he's just never said anything about it. He's never acknowledged it. He runs away from it. So I think we could go on about this for hours. I think that was a great bunch of things that we were saying. I think the main takeaway is own up to your stuff. Just own up to it. Show that you're willing to change. Show that you're willing to change into a better person. I've made mistakes. You've made mistakes. Everyone in chat's made mistakes. We're in no position to sit here and write people off for eternity. But when you don't use a bad situation to make good and be a champion for change, I think that's just something I can't get behind.
Yeah, because they go on all the time about how they got to use their platform for good.
Exactly.
They, especially when the Black Lives Matter movement was going on and everything like that. All you heard was, got to use your platform for good, for good, which I 100% agree with. You have to use your platform for good, but you cannot be selective about how you're going to use your platform.
That is the thing.
If you are on a big platform, you are always on a big platform, which means every single action you have has repercussions, whether they're positive or negative.
Exactly. And we're not saying you can't make mistakes, but just own up to them and try to be better. Be better.
Correct. Yeah.
Just be better.
I think the world would be better if I saw somebody in your chat talking about how a lot of these cases are you get paid off and then they disappear.
Yep.
I think the world would be a lot better place if we stopped letting these cases disappear. We held these players accountable, but 2, players held themselves accountable and teammates held their players accountable.
Yeah.
At what point do you, as a teammate, go, I don't want to play with this guy?
Yeah.
What?
100%.
So, like I said, I think we can beat this drum all day, but I think at the end of the day, we just need to see.
Touch on. about that. Yeah, I see your message, Spencer, and I think at the end of the day, like I said, that was a pretty complicated case a while ago. So I don't like, I wasn't there. I don't know what happened, but all I know is the way that when it was happening, Benzema didn't run away from it and said, same with Giroud. When he cheated on his wife, he acknowledged that he was wrong and he apologized and said, I made a huge mistake. Same with Checo Perez in Formula One, was seen dancing up on a woman and trying to kiss her this past a few races ago. Next day, apology, instant reaction. That's it. Like, these things happen. We've all made mistakes, but there's a difference between just pretending like you're entitled to do it because you're a football player versus actually trying to say, you know what, I messed up. 100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was a really good topic, and thanks for your input, guys. I'm sure we could go on for this, but I think we're at almost two hours.
That last comment.
I know. There's two.
PK apologized to Gabby's mom.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, I think that was a phenomenal episode. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, please consider liking the video, subscribing, and leaving your comments. We always love to hear from you guys. Mykal and I both stream on Twitch. Links are in the description, so feel free to check us out if you want to be part of this live conversation. We had an amazing interactive chat, as always. We always seem to have great talks and debates. It's a completely open door in both of our chats, always. But yeah, for me, I think that's it. Is there anything you want to sign off with, Mykal?
No, we want to open it up for some questions real quick. We got probably about 5 minutes before we want to end.
Yeah, if you guys want to drop anything in there, I think I saw one earlier. So we'll do 5 minutes of open panel here. I think someone said something about Julian Alvarez. I forget where that is. Who said something?
Oh, Julian. I think I saw that earlier. How we think Julian Alvarez is going to do.
Forgive me, who asked that, but yeah, Mykal, go ahead. How do you think Julian Alvarez is going to fit into Manchester City's plans? I think that was the question.
I think he's probably. It's hard because they lost Raheem Sterling, and I know like Grealish is probably there. I think he's second tier in every single position now on the team. I think he probably takes over for Gabriel Jesus' role, where he can play left, he can play right, he can play middle.
Does he play this season, or does he get loaned out?
I think he plays. Now that Gabriel Jesus is gone. If Gabriel Jesus was still there and they brought Haaland in, I think Alvarez goes back out on loan. But I think he plays. I think he's probably in a lot of cup games. You probably see him against because Haaland. You got to remember one thing that City fans are really high on Haaland, but a lot of Dortmund fans will tell you he's a glass cannon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He scores you 30 goals, but he sits out 20 games. So, I mean, he's got the legs of 40-year-old man. So, I honestly think that I think Haaland's going to do well, and I think Alvarez will probably get games because Haaland needs to be managed. So cool. I think he'll do well, but I don't think he's going to score 20. I think he'll probably get, 5 goals probably. Okay. But I think he still has good showings when he does come on the field. So
I think he's a for sure long-term signing. I think they also brought him in with the thinking that he can learn from Haaland at this age. If Haaland does end up pursuing the Real Madrid move within the next 2 to 5 years or whatever the window is, hopefully Julian Alvarez will have learned enough by that point to become, not that he isn't already a phenomenal prospect, but a more polished, complete player. So Grabby, I think was who asked that. Thank you.
He can play left, he can play right.
Flexible.
He has flexibility. So
100%. Dazzler says go on transfer market and rank Premier League clubs window so far. I think that's a very good thing, and we probably will do that on either of our Discords or something like that.
We could do that probably on our prediction, the same podcast we do our prediction on.
Do you want to do that on the prediction podcast, or do you want to pick one club you think had the best window for the Premier League and I say one, or do you just want to leave it for the prediction?
I'd say we'll do that probably next episode when we do, because I think next episode would be a good one to also knock out our predictions. So
sounds good. So we'll probably do like a prediction based thing because the season's right around the corner. So we'll do predictions and rankings. And if you guys have anything, Michael's Discord and my Discord, feel free to join those.
Or comment on the YouTube.
Or comment on the YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. And also join the Discord if you're watching on YouTube.
Yes.
Jonesy, hi, buddy. I saw you come in earlier and I didn't get to say hi. Good podcast. My question, how would you say Ten Hag is feeling now that United have failed to land any of his primary targets? And who would you suggest United replace Ronaldo
Did he, though?
Do you want to go first? Because to me, I don't think the only failure to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jonesy, the only failure is De Jong not coming. That's it. Yeah, Martinez wanted Eriksen.
It's not even a failure.
Yeah.
It's not even a failure though. Like that's De Jong's thing. I wouldn't even count that as a failure because they.
Yeah.
I get that's whatever, but.
Jonesy, is there a specific target that you have in mind, by the way, that we're missing? Because I don't think they had much of a failure.
I don't think Ten Hag failed. I think that was I think that was Rangnick failing, because if Man United would have landed Champions League football, De Jong would be a Man United player right now.
Mm.
So I don't think. What was the original question? Because I freaked out as soon as I heard failed.
Basically, who would you suggest United replace Ronaldo with? But just before we get to that, Jonesy has said the primary targets were Nunez, De Jong, and Anthony from Ajax, and the other Ajax center back were all his first choice, Yuri Timber.
Well, Anthony still hasn't signed anywhere, so I don't see why that's a failure. I mean, that could still happen. I don't think. Who do you replace Ronaldo with? It's hard to say because
Anthony
Ronaldo still scored 15 goals.
Yeah,
Martial's looked good since
I
he's
think
come back.
that's
by
what
the
I'm
way.
saying.
He looks really good in the preseason.
Anthony Martial is
the
all
Martial and Rashford partnership looks really good.
Yeah. Sancho's looking like he's playing really well. I don't think you really need. I mean, yes, I think it's more a safety blanket to say we need to replace Ronaldo. I think you guys are fine. I think if you guys play the way you guys have played under the first couple of games that I've seen, and you buy into the system, and every player on that field, without the drama of Ronaldo, without the drama of Paul Pogba, if they play the way Ten Hag wants to play, all 11 guys on the field at any given time, you guys are fine.
So 2 names come to mind for me. They're both from France that I think would fit in Ten Hag's system and play well in the Premier League. If you're a FIFA player, you'll know this rat's name by Ben Yedder.
The moment you said rat, yeah.
Yeah, I think Ben Yedder would do really well in Ten Hag's system. I also think Laporta from Rennes would do, or Rennes, excuse me, would do really well in Ten Hag's system. And I think he's got the ability also to play in multiple positions and play up front primarily and score a ton of goals. So
yeah,
I think that would be a good one. I see chats popping off with Martin Braithwaite. I think that's a terrible signing for Ten Hag. He's kind of proven that
it's not chat, it's Dazermeister.
Yeah. Yusuf Poulsen though would be a good shout.
Decent. Yeah, he's 27-ish now, right? So he's not really that much of a young prospect anymore. Yeah. I think he would be a good shout. Dazer also asked me, how does it feel? I'm gonna put the more PG version out for anyone on YouTube. But how do you feel that Fulham has signed more players than Chelsea? It is what it is. I mean, I think at the end of the season, Dazer, and I don't want to get into it like you did with another person in chat, but I mean, at the end of the season, bro, we're gonna be worrying about different things. So, GG's, good job. But come the end of the season,
are you though?
Oh yeah. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I got one from my chat here.
Yeah. Go ahead.
This is going to be a unique one. What's Garen hitting us with? What's your favorite Serie A kit so far?
Venezia.
They're not Serie A.
Oh, Serie B. Does it have to be Serie A, Garen? Damn it.
None? I don't know. I haven't seen any really that have like
not Juventus. It's atrocious. I saw it in person at our local store here. It's disgusting. I don't like it. Sorry, Juventus fans.
I gotta say AC Milan's classic, but now that it has the gold star on it, does it ever get better when it has a gold star on it?
All leaked and released kits. Sorry, it's asking me for cookies and stuff.
Let's change it from Serie A to just your favorite kit so far that's been released.
Venezia.
I think they're okay. I'm gonna shock you with mine. Mine's Norwich's red kit.
Oh,
that red
is gorgeous.
Kit.
Yeah. For those
that
of you
one
that haven't
looks
seen
phenomenal.
Guys, Google it's the away kit, right? Google Norwich away kit 2022. Please, you will not be disappointed.
That maroon with the gold numbering and lettering and the badge. They even changed the badge. So the badge isn't that typical gold and green. It's like all golden instead of yellow.
Also, now I have a question for Garin, and he can write it in your chat. Garin, what's your favorite Serie A kit? Please let us know. I would love to hear that. A couple more we're gonna take, guys. I think Gavin said Liverpool getting 31 million for Nico Williams and Takumi Minamino was great business. I do agree. I think that was phenomenal. Minamino is someone who I actually thought was a really exciting player. When Southampton played Chelsea, he destroyed Chelsea, and I think he's a really, really good player. But hey, that is great money. And then there's one more here I just want to read from Jonesy. He said, we were light up from last season. Martial is back from loan, but we have lost Cavani and Greenwood. Ronaldo wants to leave. Even if he stays, he isn't pushing himself till after the World Cup. We've lost Lingard, Mata, Matic, and Pogba. We've signed an LB who we didn't need. Maybe an upgrade over time, but basically replacing Telles or Shaw. A center back. We have plenty in numbers, but really no one that's standing out as much. And a backup versatile midfielder, attacking mid, who replaces Lingard and Mata. So basically saying they need a lot more, a striker, a quality midfielder, and attacking right back, and if possibly a wide player. I agree, Jonesy. I think, at the end of the day, there's always going to be positions that you think need, signings. As a Chelsea fan, I can relate. We desperately need center backs. We know what's going on there. We need a striker. We've been screaming for a striker. But rather than panic about what's not happening, which I understand is easy to do, especially like for me as a Chelsea fan, it's easy to panic. You have to start to get to a point where you're like, okay, this is what it is right now, and let's see what we work with. So we have to be, I think, still give Ten Hag the time to implement his system and use who he has and see what he does. It would be nice to feel like you're walking into the season with a completely built squad the way you or other fans would want. But I think, at the end of the day, we just have to make sure that we just wait a little bit before we see, because the transfer window isn't open. It's July 28th, closed. It's July 28th. There's still so much time left. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Michael.
I had to restart my Discord. Sorry. What was the original question?
Basically, I was just it's not a question. I was just touching on Jonesy gave a very detailed explanation of the positions he thinks need replacements, which are all valid points. But like I said, it's firstly early, and secondly, I don't think there's need to panic just yet because you haven't even played a competitive match under your new manager, who I think is going to instill a completely different mindset into that club. Personally,
yeah, we touched base on it in the first episode. We talked about almost 45 minutes about Man United. I may be exaggerating with the number there, but I don't think Manchester United need a whole lot right now. If Ronaldo leaves, that does kind of leave a little bit of a hole there, and I think they could fill that. But they're not making any moves right now that lead me to believe that they're willing to just drop Ronaldo from their contract, from his contract. So, I think to our point last time, patience. Man United fans need to exhibit patience this season.
Which is hard. We're not saying it's easy. By the way, we're not discrediting it. We're not saying it's not easy, but just I think it's very easy to overreact and panic in a way. But
I
valid
think
points.
If you're a Man United fan and you're freaking out before the December or the January window hits, then you need to reevaluate how you watch football, because you're starting to be more of a gatekeeper than you are a football fan. Because Man United fans just need to have patience.
Dazzler said Ronaldo to be sent to the under-23s. Michael did sign him for his under-18 coaching job at Lazio, and it worked. Yeah. So, but yeah, guys, we're going almost 2.5 hours here. I would love to keep this going, but both of us have plans to stream. I think, at least, I shouldn't speak for Michael, but both of us have plans to stream.
I'm gonna go make tacos.
Okay, so are you streaming or no?
Nope.
Okay, so that's it.
And make tacos.
Cool. I'm gonna stream.
Wait. I did have one more subject though.
Go ahead. There's zero chance you're gonna get that.
Oh, wow.
And on that note, guys, this was the final ever episode of the Talk Footy to Me podcast. It was a pleasure, but I will not be working with this man again. No, I'm just kidding. Phenomenal podcast as always. Thank you to every single person in chat that was here, whether you agree, disagree, whatever. The fact that you guys, and Garn, we see you, man. I love some of the stuff you talk about. So we see every single person in here, man. Appreciate all of you. If you're checking this out on YouTube, our information for Twitch and social medias are in the description. So feel free to join us over on Twitch next time we do this live, so you can continue talking with us in there. Other than that, I will be streaming some Football Manager right now once we get off stream here. I need to watch everything I say, because I was going to say once we get off, and I know Michael was going to clip it. Once we end this conversation, I shall be streaming some Football Manager for a couple hours if you guys want to stick around. I think Michael's going to go eat some tacos, which probably is a lot better than what I'm about to do at Dulwich Hamlet. Michael, any final words for this episode? Not for life? I need to shut up. Everything I say is a meme, man.
No, thank you guys so much again for the love on the first episode of the podcast. It was absolutely amazing.
Yes.
If you're watching this episode and you're not already following both H2 and I on Twitch, please consider coming over to our Twitch channels and hanging out with us. We're both content creators that are just thriving to build this community that you guys are watching as a part of this podcast. So thank you guys so much for the love and support. You're going to see a lot more of this. As we've kind of already hinted earlier, next episode, I think we're planning on doing the prediction for a lot of the leagues around the world. We're also going to be doing the transfer market, just kind of recap like who won, who lost. We're not going to go into too much detail, just kind of simple, quick hitting fire episode probably next week. We also have in the works a NA broadcast where we're going to cover basically everything North America, USA, Canada. Do they need to win the World Cup now, or is it things for the future? We're also going to cover MLS transfers, teams there as well. We have interviews and guests in the works. I'm not going to mention any names right now, but we have a couple of those coming up in the next couple episodes as well. So make sure you tune in for those. The only way you can really be on top of that is if you subscribe to the YouTube, so that way you know when we're going live. Join the Discord, so that way you also see when we're streaming on Twitch, and you can be a part of the conversations there. But much love, guys. I appreciate you. H2, you're an amazing person. Thank you so much for putting up with my antics for this episode. Chat, I love you guys. Amazing night tonight. I'm going to go make some food because my girlfriend's probably starving because it's almost 11 o'clock at night here. But much love, everybody.
I couldn't think of a better person to do this with. Thank you, Mykal. I will see you soon. I'm going to be right back, guys, on the screen, and then we'll get into the FF and to FM. So stay tuned for the next 2 minutes or so until I'm back. Goodbye, my king. Mykal, I will see you next time, and see you guys on stream here in a minute or two.